you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. What an exciting apocalypse it is when the sapient and beautiful souls from Idiocalypse come to Swapcast with rogue ways, with the wit of steel, the eyes of discernment, the roots that stretch all the way down, and the hearts to shoot right back up to the heights, all while holding it here in the center with us. Jonathan and Cheney join us as the renewal revolutionaries from opposite coasts of the North American continent who are truly wonderful humans. Jonathan, Cheney, thank you so much for coming back to Rogue Ways tonight. It's awesome to have you guys, and also to be on your show at the same time. This is the first literal dual live stream swapcasting thing I've ever done, so.
Same here.
Yeah.
I know, it's awesome. Okay, then perfect. Then I'm going to try ours. We never write anything, but I wanted to pay homage to Lindsay because I'm a fan of her show by doing my best Lindsay. So welcome Hollow Earth Heroes. Let me start over. Not a reader. Okay, that's it. I spoke in tongues. No, okay. Welcome Hollow Earth Heroes, inked up indigos, and the fallen fruit of the stars as we find our balance this November like a baby fawn on a freshly iced pond. Lucky for us, we are blessed with charismatic help to assist in securing a more peaceful, solid state. So, Idiocalypse and Rogueway warriors, please help us by squeezing into the show. Energy healer, tarot reader, mind opener, heart filler, jewelry maker, she is the warm voice of calm rain that hits the rusty shingles of our souls. Lindsay Sharman, welcome to our show.
Wow!
You go, girls!
Aw, that almost made me cry. Thank you. What an honor.
That was wonderful.
That's
So
truly
great
the
to have
best.
you.
It's the only introduction I think I've ever had, and definitely the best one. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Every time you come on, I'm going to try to get better at it.
Well done.
No, I'm going to do it too. I'm taking that.
I also want to remind people that you can go to rogue.locals.com right now and become a member for free, and you can become a supporter if you find value in Rogue Ways. You become a supporter for $2 a month or more, and with that you get access to everything in the group you can already read and see just by being a member. But if you want to be part of the conversation and interact, supporters get that, but you also get exclusive content like videos and things that I only am going to do there for supporters. And I also want to do things like free tarot readings. Right now I'm doing free blessings, which are $35 to $75 normally for any supporter at all. If you have anything that you have it can be like really, really simple things that you feel like you should not ask for blessings for, like my toe hurts. Or it can be like major things like, oh man, I need a new career and or a new home or whatever. Like anything you want, you can get a blessing for that right now for free, which is amazing. So I really want to offer that to my supporters, and then I'm going to do all kinds of stuff like that as time goes on. So there's going to be really fun things. I also, one of the things that I'm doing in rogue.locals.com is I am replacing the meditation group that I did on Facebook and this sort of conspiracy-minded community that I ran on Facebook, and I'm trying to shift that all over to Locals because they don't do censorship there, and I really appreciate that. And also I can finally get support for all the things that I do, which is also very nice. And so I want to do guided meditations, exclusive classes for people, which I also offer classes on all kinds of spiritual type things, and I want to do just all kinds of stuff like that. I'm just merging it all into one place. So I'm super excited about it. There's a ton of people over there already, a lot of really cool supporters, and I hope that people want to come join the party. And that's what I wanted to throw out there. So thanks for letting me hijack the beginning of the show.
Yeah, of course. And if you use the promo code Idiocalypse, you get 10% off the free blessing.
Yes,
So
that's
go
true.
ahead and type that in.
Do it. It's absolutely true.
That's awesome. And if you go and sign our petition at change.org, which we have just under 200,000
Almost there.
signatures right now for Bill Gates for King of the New World Order, you'll get an additional 10% off the free blessing.
That's
So,
what
yeah,
a
we're
deal for everyone.
Road to 250,000, guys. We're almost there. Let's keep up the good work.
That's so rad.
Like
King
and
of the New World
subscribe.
Order. I guess, what was it that he just, he posted something about, he's excited to work with the new administration, which isn't official, but everyone's going to act like it is.
Yeah.
He's excited to work with them on vaccines and other things. And of
Global
course,
poverty.
the comments
nothing.
for all of that were turned off. No one's allowed to say anything about it.
Yep. Oh, he knew what was going to happen. They all know. It's only through constant censorship they can hold this down. You know, this whole ploy they're pushing on all of us
Truly.
to make us think that Joe Biden got more votes than Obama. There's no way, man.
There's no way.
Like even like all of the centrists hate him, and yeah, a lot of them voted for him because the
Fear.
Trump hate is so real.
Fear and
It's real.
hate, yeah.
Yeah. But fuck, man. Now we're building back better? I don't think so.
Build back better. How was that? Someone was saying that was 666 somehow, and I did never really look into how.
Well, just like you have the B, right, for each build back better.
Yeah.
And if you just take the B and you do like this with it, now it's 666.
It's all lowercase purposefully. They're all lowercase B's.
They're lowercase. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
Of
it's
course.
like build back better, and then
6
Lady
feet apart,
Gaga,
everybody.
the high priestess, standing in front of a sign that says "Fighting for the soul" is the biggest word on it of America,
God,
and standing in a circle of stars.
Jesus.
I never put my soul up on this election.
No.
Not once.
Can you imagine though, like, because even if you didn't understand that this was a spiritual battle, which I want you guys to share that thing you were telling me before we went live, because that's pretty awesome. But so Cheney, maybe you can, unless you already went into it at some other point. But anyway, the if you didn't know that the soul of humanity is like literally what's at stake right here, and that this was a spiritual battle, you'd still be giving your soul up. If you're one of these people who is on either side, where you're like, Trump's the savior and we gotta get Trump because this is the best, and you're like pouring everything of you into that, like literally this is now who you are and what you're doing, where all your emotion is going. Or if you're on the other side and you're like, fear, hate Trump, nobody likes Biden, but I'll just do it anyway because we gotta get like Trump out of here, like that. You're putting all that into there. Either way, you're giving all of your, because our soul is like this nebulous concept, but in reality, it's made up of our like thoughts, our ideas, our emotions. This is like
Electromagnetism.
and we're like pushing that out at these things. You're giving your soul away, like.
I think a weird thing that kind of happened along the way of our country is the media turned our politicians into idols. They turned them into false idols, where I don't think that's the way they were ever set up. They were just a dude from your neck of the woods that you were sending to speak for you, so the rest of you could keep the farm or school or whatever going. You were like, hey, you like to chat and are good with your words, and we can go without you for 2 years, so will you go up there and say it for us? And if you don't do a good enough job, it won't be great for you back here. So it was just that kind of thing. And then there was somebody from every area, and they would go meet, and then that person at the head of that table, he would take his horse and they'd be like, all right, we're all in Florida. We all came together and we all talked, and we're going to get this person now to ride on their horse to go to Washington and say, this is what the people of Florida say. And the people of Washington are like, well, here's the stuff that is totally human rights you're not allowed to do because there's federal law, and freedom is given to you by God, and the government is just supposed to be there to make sure that we don't infringe on each other's. That's their only thing. They're not meant to police. They're just to make sure that I don't hit at the end of your freedom somewhere. Like, drive your car 100 miles an hour shooting heroin in your arm on the land that you own. Do it. And everyone's like, well, that's a libertarian, that's a communist, everybody, because our education has brainwashed us into figuring out a way to put it in an ist or an ism in our being, but really it's just we all have different moral codes at different times, and we live by them because of financial things, where we are at in the world, or if we have kids, our own, the color of our skin for some people, who we want to marry for some people. Everybody has their things, but none of them are in the boxes of the things the TV is telling us about. None of them are in this duality. I think they've created false duality. That's what I think about the whole thing.
And the idolism, like you were saying, of worshiping of these people as if they're somehow different or better than us, when, like you were saying, like they're actually, we used to allegedly choose them because they were just like us, or like they're not better than us.
Like Nancy Pelosi. Like I feel a deep connection with Nancy Pelosi. I feel like we're cut from the same cloth.
She's your spirit animal.
Yeah, we really align on almost everything.
Like I really want to be a vodka soaked lizard person someday, so she's what I'm aiming
We both
for.
love really expensive gelato. Like I love $80 cups of gelato.
Our whole freezer. I'm like, what are you doing there? Like, that's weird.
Just gelato and cocaine and vodka.
It's a
We both
diet.
love Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
I was like, is that someone else's trigger, or is that her response to the trigger? Like, I wasn't sure what was going on there. Maybe there's like an elaborate system of brainwashing MK Ultra where like one person is triggered to say the trigger to another person, who then is triggered to say the different trigger to another person, so it's untraceable. New conspiracy.
Yeah, I like that. That's deep.
It's that's the same Operation Wall Street. If they were in the park when they spoke, or any of some of the grassroots kind of movements, and we're in a group of 100, and we're like, and we're all like, as a group, I'm not going. But then it's like whatever, they're like a human megaphone.
Kill all the white people! Kill all the white people!
White devil!
Shit, I think I'm white.
Me too.
I thought you were like, shit. All right, you guys.
This is the end of the stream.
Shortest live stream ever. Well, when you were talking about the everyone has their different ideas of morals and whatever, I was thinking of this tweet I saw that because now I do Twitter a lot because Facebook has canceled me. Now it just gets worse and worse. I know, I hate them both, but I'm like, well,
you got canceled by Twitter?
By Facebook.
No, by Facebook. How
Facebook.
canceled? Like all the way canceled, or a 30-day ban, or what?
So we'll see. So my
You
initial, yeah, I know, and they for no reason. So my original profile that I've had since 2009, I think, has been banned for 30 days, which has happened before, but usually there's a reason. They're like, you said, that cracker is a dickwad, or whatever, you can't say that. I'm like, okay,
You're not fomenting civil war.
Yeah, I guess
out
that's
of here.
fair. So then I get banned. This time it was just like, you're banned for 30 days, and I was like, is there like a post or a comment? And there's like nothing, and I'm like searching for the post or comment, and they have a list of everything I've ever done wrong on Facebook, and nothing's on there from any time within like a month of this ban. So I'm like, okay, so there's literally no reason, so I can't contest it. And there's no one to contact, so I'm just out for 30 days with no reason given. So then I make a backup finally, which I never wanted to do, but I was like, I really want to still be in my groups, basically. Like, I made these groups, want to interact with people there, that's where my family is. So then I made this backup, and I used a totally different email, a totally different picture, a totally different name, whatever. I'm sure they still know it's me, right? Like, I'm not confused
It's facial recognition.
Yeah.
And if your face is on there, they gotcha. It's like a fingerprint.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have other methods of surveillance, too. Like, it's all locked down, but it's allegedly it should be safe, right? I have all these different ways. So then I'm on there, I get I don't know, 30 or 40 of my friends back, and I'm starting to interact, and then the next day, it's only been a day, they kicked me out of that for 30 days. Also didn't say why.
No,
in the meantime,
you're on the list.
Yeah.
Linz.
In the meantime, all sorts of bullshit happened. Like, they were emailing an email address that literally no one has. I've never given it to anyone. Not a human in the world has it. They were emailing that email address to tell me about my new account, and then they were emailing my new account's email address about my old account.
Sounds like Russia.
They were just telling me, like, we know, like, we've got you. They were trying to be intimidating. I'm like, you're not scaring me. You're just pissing me off. Like,
What about if your other email was like grabembythepussy@gmail.com?
yeah.
You're like, I don't understand
Why?
why they won't.
So then I was like, well, fuck it. I'm not doing Facebook anymore. Because when I get back finally, you know, like,
What's your Discord, man? You're not on Discord with us?
Discord
All us
canceled
nerds?
Ice Age Farmer, so I'm like, I'm not doing Discord. And
Yeah, they're coming for everybody. All the Patreons, like every fucking thing.
Everything.
What was it? BitChute.
Yes.
BitChute got pulled off of their
Deplatformed.
servers. Like BitChute's kind
they
of a
were
big deal.
deplatformed. Yeah.
The company got deplatformed off of what they were doing over there because people were still being nice
Talking
to
about
Hitler.
truth and yeah. Gmail canceled Ice Age Farmer 2, I think it was, and what's it called? A monkey.
Shoot.
MailChimp.
MailChimp.
Paid
MailChimp's
service.
fucking with a lot of people.
Paid service. They're a paid service. You'd think they want money more than to fuck with people, but they were canceling people like. So I'm like, fuck it. Locals is the only thing that I've heard of that is.
What is Locals? I've never ever heard of that.
It's because it's like a kind of bougie. It's not.
We were thinking of going over to OnlyFans. What are your
I was thinking OnlyFans
thoughts
too.
on?
I was thinking of OnlyFans too, and then I saw Locals, and I was like, well, I'll try that first because it has more like of a. So it's by Dave Rubin.
Less porny.
It's less porny. It has more of like a I don't know, like
It's only 48% masturbation instead of like 60.
exactly. And it's Dave Rubin, who he's probably like
Is that Mark
controlled in some
Rubin's
way or whatever.
cousin?
No, he's not related to anyone. He was like a gay guy who was totally Democrat as far as I know, and he was on the whole thing like. What was it? Someone just owned him. It was Larry Elder, I think, came on his show to talk to him about, that cops kill black people and oppress black people more than anyone else. And Larry Elder's a black Republican, and he came on and he was like, give me the evidence. And each point he just calmly, refuted. And Dave Rubin was like, well, shit, I guess I'm wrong. And I was like, damn, I actually have respect for this person. Like, that's not normal.
Somebody said they were wrong on a
Yeah.
podcast?
On a,
No.
kind of big show, actually. And
You're
so,
supposed to take the mic off and leave in
disgust.
In disgust,
After
that's the word I
calling
wanted. Thank you
names.
so much.
After being like, you
Uncle
ass-"
Tom?
Yeah, after Uncle Tom. So he, which is another thing I got banned from Facebook.
I thought you were supposed to go, young Jamie, will you look up that?
Yeah. Give me the stats. So he...
Is it true that police violence against black people is like one of the least things we have to worry about in the whole wide world right now?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Fact check. True. So he got my respect from that, and he has interesting people on. They talk about that. It's all kind of mainstream. He's pretty mainstream. I'm not like saying he's rad. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh my god, she likes Dave Rubin, he's totally CIA. And I'm like, sure, maybe he is. But allegedly, not rogue.locals.com, but just locals.com is, the whole point of it is to be anti-censorship.
Yeah.
And I
Go
like
to
that. And they use-
rogue.locals.com, everybody.
Yes. And I like that they
Give her
use
money.
Stripe instead of PayPal, because PayPal also fucks people for political reasons, and
Thank you, Elon
Stripe
Musk.
hasn't yet.
You know what Larry Gators would do right now? Like
You
for
say,
Rogue
Brother
Local-
Cheney, Brother Lindsay.
He would say, Brother Lindsay, roguelocals.com. I am going to anoint somebody out there in the audience right now. You have come into extreme wealth, and you are going to be able to peel off $1,000 and give it to roguelocals.com
Yeah.
because you are blessed with that gift and you have it to give. So
Amen,
go
amen,
over
amen.
to roguelocals.com and
Amen,
give to
amen,
Brother
amen.
Lindsay right now.
Yeah.
She deserves it.
That's
All
true.
the abundance in the world.
Brother Lindsay is probably the coolest name I've ever had. So. That's good.
I'm Father Cheney.
Father
I
Cheney.
marry people, and I'm Father Cheney.
That's awesome.
I'm just regular Jonathan.
Just regular Jonathan. It has to be the whole thing, though. Just regular Jonathan.
Yeah, I always say it like that.
Jonathan, I like your hair like this.
Thank you.
It is nice.
It gets out of the way. Like, if not, I'm always, like, trying to
Yeah.
put it, and I'm always going backwards in my mind because I should flip my camera, but I don't. And so I never know where the hair is supposed to go. So let's just get it out of the way and focus on more important matters.
Dude, that's my same problem. I'm like, I can't, like, be in my body and actually feel which way my hair is going. So I'm, like, looking at the camera and I'm like, oh, no, not that. Okay, like this. Like,
And then I fixed it, and then I have
Now
this
I
whole
fucked
part
it
back
up.
here that's just sticking out. And I'm so focused on everybody else, I don't realize that there's just like this thing.
Yeah, you're doing this. Trying to find your own head.
I'm just lucky that my friend did my hair and gave me bangs that actually work for my face.
I actually had, what do you call them? What's the two? Pigtails. I had pigtails. That's what I was going to do today.
Dude, I should do that. We should all do pigtails next time.
Let's do it, except for Chinese.
You guys, why are those called pigtails?
Because
they used to,
I don't know. I was going to start
curly like a
answering. I have
pigtail.
no idea.
Know what I'm saying?
Oh, they used to curl them out too.
My pigtails.
Little
do this.
ringlets.
Real pigtails were like that.
I am gonna I tried to grow out my hair before, but something happened. There was an accident.
Something.
But I don't. It's
It was a
not
vat of
because I'm-
acid. It got pumped up by a forklift. It was horrendous.
No, you guys, I do it in a lot of things in life where whatever. It's not even that it costs me a whole bunch in life, but with my guy friends, if I were to go to a strip club and there was strippers, I don't have a problem with it necessarily. And I know ladies, even if I went with a bunch of my lady friends, let me not even genderize, a whole bunch of lady friends, gay and straight, all
You
ladies.
just
to the strip
genderized
club.
it to ladies, though.
I know, whatever. All my friends, the whole group. I just, you know what? I'm going to be real honest. It's rare that it's a mixed group, but somehow I'm not like I'm always in it. It's like, it's been years, but I'm like the example of I tend to, if I feel bad for someone and I'm in a situation where it's like a money piss away, like I don't really want to give any. I would give all these girls money. Like, I don't want to judge the situation at all. I just feel like, but there'd be
They're just
one
gonna
girl,
buy Xanax and meth with it.
whatever they're doing, or pay for their college education. No, I'm just whatever.
Like, here's the
But
book.
whatever's happening, I'm not judging any of the situation. But even it's just like if the girl that I feel like no one is taking notice to, it makes me feel bad, and I don't want anything from that person, but I will give that person my money.
And then they'll
That's
come,
the
like,
same thing that happened to me at the barber shop.
uh,
There was an older woman, and I usually have my couple of dudes that I go to, and she was an older woman in the barber shop, and she probably has her great clientele, but it's such everything I'm about to say is a genderized thing. I don't like going to salons. Not all women, ladies in Florida still, they haven't caught up to the cool hip style of like, sometimes girls just get their hair cut. It's the same skull. You can use a razor on it, and they are like, let me take shears and do this. So I sat in this old woman's chair, and I was like, please, lady.
Did you get the thing that came down from the back and like the bowl thing that dried your hair?
No, they don't have that at the barber shop.
Damn,
but I
nobody
didn't
has
want
that anymore.
to judge her because I was like the first girl who regularly went to this barber shop in the South. You know, they're trying to grow and change too. And so the dudes, sometimes there still is dudes that they're like, what the fuck's this bitch doing to the barber shop? We can't talk how we talk. And then other people have got like, oh, well, we're in a barber shop now, and it doesn't matter. She knows what she's getting into. But the old lady was there. And so I didn't want to judge her any more than I wanted them judging me. So I was like, sure, lady, you can cut my hair. Anyways, so I want to let my hair grow out. So it's kind of like I have that in life where I tend to, even if I know my instincts are telling me this is not the one, I'll be like, but I feel bad for it.
bad. Yeah, totally. My thing with hairstylists is I go in and I like sit down and they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a teacher. And they're like, oh, she needs the most boring old lady haircut in the world. She's a teacher. And I'm like, damn it. I'm like trying to get them like, can you like do it like this? And it's cool. And they're like, yeah.
So what job could you say to get the coolest haircut?
That's
Like, yeah, I'm a fighter pilot.
Yeah, my sister's like, just tell me you're a rock star. I'm like, I'm so bad at lying though. They're like, I'm in a
Lindsay?
band.
Don't tell them you're a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
You're going to get this haircut.
That's what Cheney did.
I've had that haircut. I had dreadlocks. I shaved my head. It slowly grew out. I had like the short hair thing.
Do y'all know about cutting your hair with the moon cycles? Like just like biodynamic farming, like the roots of your hair are contingent upon what's going on with the moon.
That makes
So
sense to me.
if you, of course it does. If you cut your hair whenever the moon is waxing, growing, then you're gonna get this growing place because it's like pulling the stuff out of your scalp into the hair. And so if you want your hair to stay where it's at for as long as possible, you cut it at the end of the waning phase when it's going down, you know, or right in the peak of the waning when it's at the most wane before it starts like regenerating again.
And if you never ever cut your hair, what happens?
Then
Just
you
grows really long.
you have really long hair. I don't know. It depends on when you cut it that last time.
This is short for me because I didn't cut my hair for like literally I think 7 years, and it was like down past my belly button, and then I did
I'm thinking
this.
about shaving the sides down because I live in the tropics and I want to be able to do this and just get like the breeze through the sides, like the Viking show. I'm gonna do that kind of thing.
The wedge.
The Viking
I don't know. I didn't know how to name.
The Viking wedge. I don't know if it's called that.
So I wanted to get the opinion of the chat.
Oh, yeah.
We have double chat here, and we have us. So I wanted to get everyone's
Double
opinion.
chat?
Yeah, double chat.
How many
So
people do you have? I have 17 people.
I
Who's
got
winning?
22. So we got
Son
30.
of a bitch. She beats
Of
us
course.
again.
That's just chance.
John Wayne.
Earlier you had more than me, and then a minute ago I had like 30, and now it's chance. But I need to know.
I think we share like 15 people.
Yeah, there's
and
probably
they're
people
just more,
switching back and forth.
they're more comfortable with you, so they're over
X
there.
Rock. I always see.
But I need to know if. So I was okay because I was trying to say this earlier, and we got off onto whatever awesome topics we were talking about. But there's this Twitter post. This is how we got it. It was Twitter. So I was on Twitter and I saw this thing, and it said 57% of Islamic faith, people of the Islamic faith in France, said that Sharia law is above French law for them. And I was like,
Yeah, no shit.
duh. I mean, like, but the point of the article was like, look at what Muslims think. Ah! And I was like, but like, so maybe I'm wrong, but I was like, well, I'm not even a faith, and my law is above state law and country law. So it has nothing to do with religion. It's just like, I think if you're a rational person, your own idea of what's moral and right is going to trump no matter what the government says. Am I right or am I
Donald
wrong?
J. Trump.
So if you're in the chat, tell me if your law trumps state or local or federal law, or if the legal definition of the law trumps your own.
You see, Linz, this is why you're banned from Facebook.
Yeah, I think
You're not allowed.
I asked questions.
Yeah.
Questions I
This is why
think
we're
I
banned from class in high school, too.
Deconstruct
Hey,
the
you-
narrative.
Can I?
What do you think, chats? Where we at, chats? Go ahead, girl.
I was giving him enough time. I didn't know if it was like. And
And there's some kind of delay because we don't pay restream, so there's like a 10 or 15-second delay or something like that. I don't know what it is.
And sometimes people like
Adam
pause.
L says beliefs first. Is that an answer?
Yes.
Universal
Yeah.
law above all.
Yeah.
Armageddon Feast.
See?
These are some of our Discord guys. This guy is building our website for us for fucking free.
Nice.
And
That's
I was
rad.
doing I was doing a live chat with him on Discord the other day. I was sitting out with my wife next to the beach, and he wasn't on the camera, and I was on the camera. Because he wasn't on the camera, I forgot that I was on the camera, and I just like walked into the bathroom and started taking a shit, and I just like kept talking to him. So, and he was like, "Okay, so I think I got everything I need."
All right, gotta go now.
And then he hung up really fast, and then I realized in that moment I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like now I know how people masturbate on Zoom calls.
That's so rad,
You just
yeah.
kind of forget.
I know. That's exactly because I was wondering how he even like does he just like, all right, girls, it's time, and just like whipped it out? But that's a much more believable answer. Is that
Yeah, he was like
totally
he like
forgot.
went to mute he like muted it and like clicked his camera, but he accidentally didn't click his camera, and then he just flipped over to his other
Or his
tab he had
camera's
on
already
Pornhub or whatever, and he
Yeah.
was like, Asians.
That's awesome. I was like, I
Did you
knew
see?
it.
And they were like, Congressman James, Congressman James, we can all see you. There's like 45 people here are watching you masturbate right now on the camera.
There was the Pornhub thing, and I don't. It's all a joke, like one of the bumblebee or whatever the bee is, and whatever that funny new onion
It's
type humor.
Not the bee.
I don't remember, but it's a picture. It's a Pornhub thing, and it has Kamala Harris and Joe Biden like holding up their hands, and it says "interracial couple fucks America," and it's the #1 thing on Pornhub.
Fucks America. Oh my god, it's so true.
So I guess we're still technically doing an election special. This can be called an election special. Everybody did one
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
I'll just
But-
say, if you don't mind, that before
Say it.
before I
Go to
heard anyone else,
rogues.locals.com and give
Yeah.
her $2 a month.
Thank you. Before I heard anyone else say it, I was like, they're going to call it for Donald Trump after all this, because the best way you could fuck the United States right now is by letting all these people who've been completely insane for 4 years, like completely demented about it, who are now overjoyed, so much relief, like, thank God, like, oh my God, they're celebrating in the streets for a old demented white guy and a cop. Like that fervor, just filling them
against
and then,
old demented white guys and cops. They were literally last 4 years. That was their number one thing, and now they're burning their pink pussy hats in the street.
yes, or
We
not,
finally
or
got an
going
old
to.
demented white guy and a cop.
So they're gonna call it for Trump, and those people are gonna like break. They're just gonna like be shattered, and now they're gonna be even more manipulatable, and we're gonna have another, full like violent, chaotic push. I'm not like fear porning. I'm not like actually scared of that. I just think that'd be the best way for them to like really control shit. So that's my guess.
Yeah.
My guess is that they're going to end up going for Trump. I don't know though. We'll see.
I think the only way to get the guns out of the hands of Americans is like some kind of revolt type thing. Like, they're never going to take the guns. They're never going to show up to a guy's house in Texas and be like, I'm coming for your guns. You just got to give them to me. I'll give you $500 for each gun.
Swear to God.
They're like, okay, well,
Here's
I
the
have this,
curious
I have this
question.
122 rifle you can have.
The part of America that they've been trying desperately, remember, probably about a decade ago, Alex Jones was like, I'm telling you, no one's listening to me. The frogs are gay. And they're going to convince you that veterans, conspiracy theorists, and patriots are the terrorists of the future. I'm telling you, they're going to convince you of it. I'm telling you, it's coming. And that's exactly what they've done. They've taken us off everywhere. And can I tell you the opposite of cool thing that's happened to me, but in a weird way, of this new world we live in? Where
I love how you say
getting deep.
opposite of cool. You didn't say
Because-
uncool.
No, because you'll get it when in the deplatform and when you lose all your work. Like, that's what people don't understand. It's like if you're a photographer, you lost your pictures. If you're a mom, you lost your kids' photos. If you're somebody like me, where I like to, do research and dig into these things, like I lost a lot of stuff that
If you're a doctor, you lost all your pharmaceutical contracts.
That happened too. That's why all this is actually happening. Because of the pharmaceutical contracts that were lost when the president that will not be named has signed a bunch of bills. But I forgot
so
it was
sorry,
you.
Tanya.
It's
No, you were
okay.
saying-
It doesn't matter. There's no train of thought. There's no such thing. It's just
Tell her,
it'll
Liz.
come back
What was she
eventually.
saying?
Lose everything. And they take everything from you.
Yeah, like her page got taken away.
Oh,
just
yeah.
now.
It's but it all gets taken from you, and you kind of have this moment, or for me it was just like, oh, okay, I'm just breaking through this, like it's time for the next phase. It sucks all that shit is gone, and like you were saying, my community's the most important part of that. Even when I thought about all my work, the ego stuff, after the pain was gone, I was like, oh, it's either in my head still, or a friend I have now knows it. Like, it's even better that it's in the friend than it was ever on this page. But the
Before you got to
thing,
that realization, did you stand outside in the rain and was like, I'm all out of love.
Yeah.
I'm
so lost without you.
It was really weird because Cheney lost the conspiracy chicken. They took it away from her. They just yanked it out from under her. No warnings, no marks, no nothing. Just gone. And then they gave it back 2 days
For 2
later.
hours.
For 2 hours.
And then,
To their credit, she went really hard in the paint in those 2 hours that she had it back.
yeah.
And then they just wiped it clean. And then they changed her posts, like the amount of posts she made, to 99. And she was in the thousands, I'm pretty sure. And then
Oh, 999.
Jesus.
yeah, 999. Like it said
See,
like
it's not even
unknown
about,
account.
It's not even about getting rid of you.
I felt like it
It's
was mocking me when they did that.
intimidation.
Like,
They're trying to
especially,
intimidate you.
they're like, we see what you know.
Where you at,
and we're
motherfuckers? I'll punch you right now in the face.
But
know.
here's
You're
kind
not
of
intimidating
next
me.
level. So you know how they took off like conspiracy theory, QAnon, Save Our Children. They took off all these hashtags.
Save our children, they banned it.
Yeah,
man.
that's so
the most
crazy.
fucked up thing I've ever heard.
When you have to ban Save Our Children because you're insane.
You guys, they took off the hashtag conspiracy chicken.
This is
You got a hashtag ban. That's pretty dope.
That's pretty dope. know. That's what I'm saying. It's like
That's pretty awesome.
You have like 10 medals of honor for all that. Like, that's amazing.
They took my whole hashtag. So anyway, and
Yeah, we're gonna be having an
conspiracy
awards show in a bunker somewhere in Nebraska.
I know.
Plus, it's like, because some people try to get banned, and it's like, well, it's really easy to get banned, honestly. You go out and you say, like, one racist thing, you're banned. Like, that's not...
I'm banned
That's
right
not
now
like an
from
accomplishment.
Facebook.
But yeah, it's actually an accomplishment to get banned for your content and your ideas. That's an accomplishment.
I got a 4-day ban. Like, I've had, I guess it's 3-day, 4-day. I can't remember what the progression is. But I got a 4-day ban.
3, 2 weeks, 30 days, I think. Anyway.
Yeah,
I haven't got
I never
anything.
did 2 weeks.
I never
I'm
got
talking
nothing.
about Facebook specifically. Instagram doesn't do that. Like, Instagram, my Jonathan Beauchamp page was just like, now nobody can see your shit. They didn't say anything. It was like I went from 150 to 300 interactions every day to 4. And one day, from one day to the next, no strike, no nothing, just like, this page is trash. And it lasted for like a month. And I feel like now it's like picking back up again, but I almost don't even want to go there now. Now I'm just doing everything on Idiocalypse, and when they do that, I'm going to jump back to the other one. So I'm going to leave it there, like, and waiting.
Well, and even people are like, oh, get your own site. I'm like, I had my own site, had my podcast hosted there. They also fucked that up. They can do whatever they want. Like, I'm not.
The president, on election, the 48 hours of election, or it might have been to the 24 hours of election.
Like 10 out of 12 tweets are blocked.
Yeah, it was an insane, like, the amount of censorship. And the craziest part is people are not admitting to themselves that it is one-sided right now. And they're not admitting to themselves that their black cube of side is shrinking in on them.
They're coming for you too, guys. They're coming for everybody. It's not just us. We're just the outliers. Just like, oh no, they got Alex Jones, but he was pretty crazy, so I understand. He said that Sandy Hook thing. And what I heard right away, like, I think the Union of the Unwanted started whenever Alex Jones got deplatformed. Maybe it was a little while later, but like that was kind of the impetus. Was like, hey guys, we're all gone.
Yeah.
And the last one that I listened to, there was like, I don't know how many people on the screen. Our boy Gordo was there. He didn't say anything as far as I saw, but like, there's a lot of people there, like maybe 20 people on that live stream.
Wow.
And a lot of them talking were like, I had 150, I had 250, I had 80,000 followers. All gone, no strikes, one strike, all gone. And then like Sam Tripoli, who makes his living off of YouTube mostly, I think is how he pays, like XG and these other guys, like with the ad revenue and stuff. And he's on the edge, like he's afraid to post there now. And it's all of us, it's everybody. It's not just the big people. It's like everybody that's saying anything. If you're using these keywords, like maybe the pandemic isn't a real thing. If you say something like,
just look at the screen right now. We are what they're calling deplorables and Nazis.
Are you kidding? With this kind of skin tone, and like look at our hair. We're amazing.
Like our but it's just insane. Like, I said it aloud the second that it happened. First they came for Alex Jones and no one said anything. And everybody in the same way of Donald Trump, Alex Jones was demonized first in that same way with Sandy Hook.
Because of Donald Trump. Because of like his big
because of the
audience.
support. So they were like, really, Alex Jones? Not only he almost lost his kids, he might have lost his kids because of it. He had to go to court. He got a divorce. Like, they ruined his life.
In their defense, he was fucking crazy. Like, he
think
really,
about but now knowing with the voice of God, with knowing these things that they're doing, who knows what Alex Jones, the amount of truth he's put out there. And look at us. Look at the amount of weight that we've carried for whatever little tiny fragments of ice cubes we've thrown at the machine. Yeah. If any part, like, anyone can say anything about Alex Jones being a psyop, and all psyops might have to put some truth out there. Maybe that's the way they ease their karma, whatever it is. More of what Alex Jones has said to me in my lifetime is true than any other news format you can put together. Yeah. So I'm like, you got to give credit where it's due. And so, like, I don't know why we're scared to say it. It's like they make us feel like fools to back up people that are saying true stuff.
And it's like people ignore too that I think we all like started somewhere, right? So whatever got you into like conspiracy or alternative thinking or, you know, consciousness expansion or whatever it is you're into, like we started somewhere, and then we looked back on those people eventually and we're like, it's not like fully the truth, but like whatever, it's still valuable because it still got me to where I am now. And you don't have to love 100% of somebody's words or content in order to like them. Like
brain force.
I doubt that anybody likes 100% of Rogue Ways content, but I hope they don't just abandon me because like one time I said one thing.
I like all of it. I like all of it. 100% of Rogue Ways content. You should go to rogue.locals.com and give her money.
I love it. I'm very lucky, but I also think that part of what keeps me alive is that they won't let me get very big, and so I'm still a small channel, and I think if I were bigger, or you know, that I'd be under a lot more fire, and so I'm kind of grateful.
Have you ever talked to Sam about going to Broken Simulation? Like I hear him bitch all the time, like nobody's coming to Broken Simulation. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know
why
what
isn't
Broken
anybody
Simulation is.
Well, that's something that Sam made, and I think he's the one to do it, and I've always felt that way just because he's a leader.
Yeah,
you know, like he's good at that. And he's his own thing, and everybody can talk all the shit they want, but he's a leader, and he really inspires people, and he's a very defensive person of his people. And he started this thing that everybody's kind of talking about, and every time I hear a Union of the Unwanted, which everybody should pay attention to because it's like all of the fucking alternative media people, exactly, all at once, like trying to figure this shit out together. And that, you know, like we need our own Netflix, you know, like David Icke has it, but like David Icke pops up in my Facebook advertisements like, what? What? You know, like how the fuck are you doing that? I thought, are you really saying true shit? Like what's going on? I don't see Alex Jones anywhere in my messages, but you're saying even crazier stuff than he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess they just put him out there as like he's the real crazy guy. But yeah, Sam Tripoli has this thing, Broken Simulation, and I think we all need to reach out to him and put our videos over there before we go to BitChute, before we go to these other things, and then try to help him build that, because we need like 5 of those. We need like 5, like somebody with servers in Switzerland, somebody with servers in different countries, and let's just try to split it up and mix it up. But like you said earlier, it's complete control. Like we saw with Judy Malkowitz or whatever, the lady that did the pandemic shit, and they came into her Google Drive and blocked it and deleted her files off of her Google Drive.
Which, like, it's Google, but like,
what do you expect? It's a product.
And they've gotten onto people's home computers, and so like when people are like, have your own site, I'm like, well, they fucked my site, and that got, you know, that was supposed
the
to
same
be
algorithms.
The
same algorithms that keep your videos from popping up in the suggestions are the same ones that they can keep from you popping up in a Google search, which 96% of people use to find stuff. So
and none of that
everybody
is to
go
say
to Koja.
You should give up either. It's just like you shouldn't. Because sometimes I get people who act like they're like, well, why don't you just do this, you idiot? And I'm like, not an idiot. Thought about it all. Waited. Here's the few things I'm trying for now, and then, you know, when I need to adapt, I'll adapt. Like this is where it's at for me right now. But anyway, just to say, like, like what you said, I think we should do 10 billion ways. I think we should do all of them, and as many of us as possible should be doing as much of it as we can, because hopefully it'll reach
because
enough
we're
people.
saying the shit that people want to hear. I promise. Like this is what people want to talk about, and that's the reason we're being censored, so they can push people like I don't remember his name, Sean, whatever. Like these people that are instigating race wars.
Oh.
And is it Sean or something? I don't know.
The white guy who says he's black?
King.
The white guy that says he's black.
Yeah, that guy's
Talcum X.
Sean King. Talcum X. Yeah, I love that name. That's my favorite version. But you're so white. You're so obviously white. Like, all the other people who were pretending to be of color have been called out. Why has no one called him out yet? Like, I guess people have, but...
He's saying exactly what he needs to say, and if people call him out, like, I talk a lot of shit on it. I used to, before I realized that was the fastest way to get banned. True. Because then you get like 300 people on Sean King's page reporting your comment. Yeah. So I don't fuck with those guys anymore.
Like us supporting Sam and doing Broken Simulation, all that stuff and platforms and all this way that we're expressing freedom of speech, I think it's important, but I think it's kind of important shit that we all need to fight about behind the scenes. And on our shows, we need to use it for people to ignite the fires in their real lives while they're just trying to shop for their kids and find a job and not get kicked out of their houses. Like, I think I keep hearing that on all these platforms about, like, and I understand people need money off certain things, and I know all this stuff takes a lot of time, and people have been making their living off of it. People have had their whole livelihoods wiped away. But at the same time, if you were called into the truth movement or the spirituality movement, it's because of a greater purpose than any of that. It was, even if we were left, if this internet goes away, I hope all those people remember it's about our soapboxes. You have to be the dude that grabs your peach box and walks into the street and stands on it and meditates or prays. And
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just like whatever you need to do to draw the highest part of us into you. If you are a person that is chakrally blessed, then it never has been about the money. It's always been about all of us. And so I think yes, the platforms need to happen. If we do this because we love it and we do it because we are building a big, huge family of love, the money will come and the support will be there easily. And so I love that part too. But I think our freedom of speech starts with just can we just work on getting the masks off people?
Yeah.
Can we just work on...
Like Tim Dillon the other day on Alex Jones, when they were talking about colonizing Mars and shit like that. He's like, I can't even go to fucking Applebee's.
Yeah.
Like, can we just bring it back a little bit? Let's bring it back home.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you really think you've broken everything? It's kind of funny. To me, it's like the Matrix psyops. It's the exact same as the Mars psyop. If you can destroy outside enough for me, then I will download myself into any program you create. And that's why, what's a way we can keep them out of the sun? We can tell them it causes cancer. Why wear a spray Monsanto on everything they eat? It's just, and people are, Cheney, I've had family that dies of sun cancer. Yeah, what's their diet like? Yeah, are they slathering on weird chemicals onto themselves all the time? What's their job
to fight the sun cancer?
Even everybody's finding out now, which I'm going to give credit again to Donald J. Trump, who made it anti-mask and fought with Fauci the entire time.
True.
People are finding out now that the masks have poison in them. 3M, the company
everything from China has poison in it.
Everything. It's sprayed with poison.
You mean the same company that every military member is suing for the loss of their hearing that made these masks have the same poison that when they mail you a mattress to your house, they say, get every animal out of your house and stand outside the room.
It's almost like the powers that shouldn't be want us to be sick.
It's almost like they're trying to kill us.
Almost like they're trying to kill us.
I was just saying the other day, I was like, isn't it amazing that we're actually the most emotionally responsible people on the planet and everyone thinks that we're crazy? Like, this is how much we can handle. We can look at the world and we can say, there are psychopathic, baby-eating elite who have been in control of the entire planet for thousands of years, and they're literally using magical rituals to control us, mind-controlling us, spraying the skies with poison, murdering our entire food supply, and then trying to kill us in various other ways as well, and we still laugh and have fun and go about our day trying to do the best we can.
They're so mad.
Right? That's how emotionally well we are, is we can handle all of that and still be happy, productive people who are trying to help others also. Yeah. And yet they're looking at us and they're being like, those psychopathic, they're so
selfish.
Yeah, selfish. They're so
look at she just wants to kill my grandma.
I'm like,
look at
and then the fucking
trying
Biden
to kill my nana.
Drinking champagne in the streets.
It's crazy.
What happened to COVID?
I know.
I heard.
Wasn't there a deadly pandemic? That's why nobody showed up to your rallies ever?
There's tweets that, nobody went to your rallies and everyone's celebrating. There's a tweet from many people, but 1 hour, they're like, how dare these people gather? And it's like a Trump rally or a football game or whatever. And they're criticizing it. Literally an hour or two later, they're like, I'm so happy people are celebrating for Biden. I'm like, that's the same human being just wrote that and has no idea. They're not even aware of the hypocrisy. They're not even considering it. It's insane.
So how do you feel about this? What if we just start punching people?
just like them. Though.
That's
They're
why we have you here. We were wondering if you would draw a card about punching people and see what the tarot says about
if we should or we shouldn't just start punching everybody.
I'm doing it right now. Should we use violence? Well, because I'm like in a, I have my strong spiritual life.
It's not violence. It's a punch of love.
Oh, okay. Love punching.
Yeah, we're trying
love punch with Lindsay.
open it. We're gonna punch them right in the third eye.
Okay, I have to actually acknowledge right now because someone in my chat brought up a really good point. They said I'm in the fetal position in the shower at the end of every day, and so I have to acknowledge not all of us are happily just trying to help everyone as we consider how fucked up the world is. So you're right. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. And some days I'm in the fetal position crying in the shower too. It's totally okay. I'm just saying overall, we're like the mentally well people, honestly. We can see reality and still continue to function. Even if some days we break down, it's okay.
And maybe we're the only real people.
Maybe.
Maybe this whole thing is just to make us stronger in our own beliefs. And we have all of these Westworld type automatons out there.
NPCs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disparage them, but they're retarded.
Yeah,
so,
I don't want to disparage them, but they're broken people.
So maybe that's just it. It's like, how powerful can we become to overtake this madness? Because we can.
I think fear is addictive.
It is. It's definitely addictive. It's the easy way out, right? If you're gonna live in fear, you're gonna succumb to that. Then it's a giving up. So you're like running away, or you're breaking down, you're freezing. It's that fight, flight, freeze thing, right? So and that's the easy way, because the difficult thing to do would be to face your fear and to act in responsibility, to deal with the emotion of it and still be able to act, which is exactly what I was just praising about all of us. Like, we are capable of doing that. That's the difficult thing to do.
And we're literally acting. Like right now, we're doing something.
Yes.
We're talking to people. We're trying to make some kind of change.
It's true. And I have to say too, what I was going to say is I'm, in my spiritual life, it's very rich, and I have all these practices, and I feel like I'm in connection with higher energies, and I try to bring them
Nancy
down into this
Pelosi.
plane, and that's how I live my life. And yet I think a lot of people who would also say that they experience life like that would be like pacifists. They'd be anti-violence. And I've always I read Siddhartha and I read the Bible, and Jesus was not nonviolent. Jesus was trying to get Roman soldiers killed. That's what carry the pack and turn the other cheek. Those were actually methods of getting Roman soldiers kicked out of the military and or killed. And people don't necessarily know that, but if you look at it in historical context, that's a really rebellious, violent sort of, without actually stabbing the person, but it's still a violent response. You're trying to fuck their life up because they weren't allowed to do those things. And then flipping the tables and the moneylenders and all this stuff. So he's not a nonviolent dude. Siddhartha killed the guy because killing the guy saved a whole boat full of people that the guy was going to kill. So he was willing to take on the karma of killing this guy in order to save the boat of people, right? Maybe I'm misremembering the story, but it was something like that. So I'm these people who we look to as spiritual masters, whatever, they were not nonviolent. The ideal is to be nonviolent, but they never said under no circumstances should you ever do any harm. I'm surgeons do harm. They will literally cut your body open and rip shit out. We can't be, I think, anti-violence. Violence is a absolute part of life. It exists.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it. We bounce the idea around a lot that maybe there was some time in the past that we all just fed off with prana.
Yeah.
But
it's not right
it's
now.
hard. This is not the time.
No.
It feels but like a tiger, like a Bengal tiger. It was never designed for anything but violence. Its claws come out 3 inches and it stalks prey. That's all it does. And the first thing it does, if I had to pick an animal to be murdered by, it would be a tiger. Yeah. Because the tiger is going to come for my throat and rip it out.
Instant.
It's going to be done deal.
It's not just pat you around a little and take a nibble
not going to be
here
a
and a
fight.
nibble there.
It's not going to be a fight. He's not going to kill me unless he knows he can do it in a couple of seconds.
Like a bear will eat your butthole first while you're alive.
Not my butthole.
That's
what in the
torture.
hell? I know, bears are no joke. I feel pound for pound, a cat is the scariest. Like, pound for pound, if you could pick an animal to fight alongside you, cat. Like, yeah, bears are fucking scary. Well, I just mean, like, if you're in, like, some super world of being, like, He-Man or She-Ra. Like, he was smart to pick that thing that turns into a big cat, because my little cat, it weighs, like, 12 pounds, maybe. And my cats, I've never seen a cat mad. But it saw a cat in the window, and I just happened to be standing behind it. And I was like, get away from the window. And it turned around and crawled up my leg. And I was just like, oh my, I had a whole different respect for cats in general, as I was like, oh, if that is what a 12-pound cat can do to me, that stopped instantly, that it realized it was me. What on earth could, like, you know, like that dude that was jogging and the cougar followed him the whole way.
Ask Carol Baskin's husband what a cat can do to you. What I see is like, I'm about to buy some LGDs for the farm. And the LGD is a large guardian dog. Aww. And it's one of about like 10 races. They're land races, most of them. And it's like a race of dog that goes back into prehistory. Like, our first fossil records are 8,000 years on these dogs. Wow. And they will assimilate with whatever they're around, like whatever animals. If you put them with the chickens, you put them with the ducks, you put them with quail, whatever tiny thing, baby children.
Kids, they're so cute.
They just know, like, they just, like, these are my people. I'm going to take care of these people.
What are they? I want one.
Depends. Like, it depends on your climate, what you need, how many animals you have to take care of, stuff like that. But there's a lot of different species. The Marima. My favorite is the Kengal, which is from Anatolia, and the Anatolian Shepherds, which are also from Anatolia, which seems to be the cradle of civilization and where agriculture started. So it was like these dogs that they would take up to the mountains with their sheep herds or whatever, and they could, like, whenever everything was frozen in most of the places, they could just go find a valley where everything was still open and there was running water. They would leave their herd of sheep with like 5 or 6 of these dogs. It has to be, like, it depends on whatever your predator pressure is. Like, if you have a lot of wolves, a lot of bears, then you need a big pack. And even if you have nothing, like, even if you just have coyotes or raccoons or something, you need it. Like, if you have coyotes, you need at least 2 or 3, because coyotes are fucking smart, and they will come in with a girl in heat. And they will, like, if you have a male dog, they'll like put her smell around everywhere, and the dog will start following her, and she'll just like run off into the woods, and then the coyotes will come around and eat all your fucking chickens.
Dude, that's what happened. My dogs would take off, and they'd be gone for like a week, and all our chickens would be dead. And we'd be like, what the fuck, guys? But
LGDs.
They were like, wow, we had to get some pussy. Like, it was time.
If you get a girl, the girl stays home, or you get the guy and you
hot coyote tail.
Yeah, she's like, oh, this shit smells wild.
Literally.
Yeah. But if you want a homebody, you get a girl, or you take the guy's nuts off, because then they don't do that. But at the very least, you need like 2 or 3 of them, depending on the size of your flock or your herd or whatever, because you get different personalities, you know. Like, some of the breeds, like a Marima or Great Pyrenees, they don't want to chase stuff. Like, they'll just bark and like fight, and they won't go to the fight part until something attacks them. Well, like a Kengal or an Anatolian is like patrolling the outside edge of like wherever their space is. And like, Anatolians will fight something if it gets close, but the Kangals will literally, if they smell something like a fox or something, they will go and they will start hunting it and like chase it out of the...
eliminate the threat.
Yeah, eliminate the threat. And that's all they want to do is like, let's go kill something.
That's a good point.
But they're really sweet.
It's like having your types of soldiers.
Exactly. Like, you literally build a pack on purpose based around your needs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And it's a lot better than kill it. Like, in Africa, they use them to defend against cheetahs, because cheetahs are really fast, but they don't want to fight anything because they're small and they're kind of weak, but they're really fast. So they will kill all of your stuff. And the only way to fight against it without these dogs is to kill them or trap them or poison them, you know? And that sucks, because then you don't have any cheetahs left. But if you get a big enough pack of these dogs, then they won't even fuck with them, because the dogs are just like, rah, 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 and like, it's either we're all going to get hurt, like with wolves in Canada or something. Like, we're going to lose 3 wolves. Maybe we get a sheep, maybe not. We'll kill a couple dogs, like, because a wolf is better than almost any fucking breed of dog. Like, even the most ferocious thing you can imagine. Dude, a wolf is still a fucking wild, mean ass.
Too.
Yeah, and their bite strength is out of this world.
I
They're
was
killers.
driving through Yellowstone for my first time ever, and a wolf just like ran up, because you drive kind of slow, and he just ran up and like was right next to my window, driving.
Gorgeous.
And like my window was down. I looked over. I was like, holy shit! Like there's a wolf right there, and he like looked right at me. And when he made eye contact, like everything in my being went straight to like, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. I was like, whoa.
I'm in a car. Fuck, roll the window.
So I like rolling up my window because I was like, oh shit. Like he wasn't threatening at all, but just my brain was like, recognize that,
The 1,000 monkeys of human deaths to wolves was
Yes.
like, no!
Turned on. And then, but the next thing when I was rolling up my window, I realized his face was at my face. So me sitting down up in a car seat, however tall that is, that's where his eye level was. They're
Yeah, he's like 5
giant.
feet tall
Yeah.
at the eye level. Like
I was
he's a
like,
big
Jesus
bastard.
Christ. I didn't know. I've
And
never
ferocious.
seen a wolf before in real life, except from far away in a zoo, maybe, but like not like that.
It's
Fuck
kind of
zoos.
funny. I find myself with descriptive stories. I'll shut my eyes, and so I was on this descriptive story. And because last time we were talking about spirit guides and animals and all this, and you were like, and I rolled down my window and I'm driving, and there was a wolf right next to me, and I was
So I
like,
got out. I
it
started
was like
the fire.
stars,
I lit
like
some sage.
how it
Yeah.
changed in my head, and then you were like, everything in me was like, it was like hearts, and it was like, fuck.
Shit, you're like, wait, what? This is not where my vision was.
I was like, oh yeah, back to reality. It is a wolf right next.
Real wolves are gonna kill you.
I get scared when I see a mean-looking goose. You
Geese
know what I
are,
mean? Like,
yes, I'm with you.
You
and they're
guys,
tiny. They're not nearly as big as a wolf, but I'm rolling my fucking windows up
They're
isn't
gonna get
space?
when I'm driving by.
I wanted to ask you a question last time, and we might have talked to it. And I know on our show I brought it up in between. And it's kind of in the same as like getting a dog or having. It's so important for us in a really small scale to protect our space. Like,
Yeah.
and at some point, at a scale of ideas, it becomes an ism or an ist to protect that space.
Well, people have like labeled it that way, but isn't it just natural?
I know.
In like
it-
the progression of humanity.
Even at the
life,
smallest scale, like if you want to raise chickens, then you have to make sure that hawks
Yeah.
don't get your
Yeah.
chickens.
Literally.
You know?
Even to
And
take
people.
humanity out of it, you got to protect your space from the weather. You got to protect your space. And then what we were talking about, a spiritual war. And so a question like, as a tarot, is what would be the tarot reader, tarot practitioner, tarot facilitator?
Yeah, there's so many things I do spiritually that I don't even know. But yes, you can call me a tarot reader.
And you
Someone
have
called me a
your
medium last week. I was like, I don't know if I go that far, but sure.
If you're incorporating information from other entities, then you're a medium. in
you're
my
the
opinion.
medium
So,
between it.
The thing about it is that it's not consistently, like there's the person who I'm working with, it's like their higher self for sure is always coming through. Often some of their guides will come through, but it's not so consistent that I can be like, definitely I'm a medium, like this happens every time. But it's
Did
like,
I ask
if
you
it
about
happens.
Dolores Cannon before?
No, but I still want to know what Cheney was going to ask.
Oh, yeah. I'll write it down, and so we'll go back to Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
But so for tarot, and you lay down like a piece of silk because it's a sacred space for laying it on. And I've brought it up on a scale of it's kind of conspiratorial. And we've talked about the Ouija boards. And you fold out this sacred space that's made by a company that makes a game called Sorry, a game called Monopoly, a game like we have no idea who these companies
All
are.
really, really wholesome stuff.
Yeah, like, but we're laying out these sacred spaces in our houses, and then you wonder kind of what other things like, are we supposed to lay in the sun? Or are we supposed to play in the sun? Because you lay out like the sacred space of that you lay on, or your yoga mat. And so I think even on a scale of like your farm or your house, you sage your sacred area. But for some reason, we're not allowed to, like, once you get into like town, it gets a little iffy. State, country, Nazi.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just was wondering, like, the idea of it, like the philosophy kind of it. And even talking about these things like dogs, or, you know, we're hippies or I consider myself, I don't know what that word means anymore. Everything has such weird labels, but I consider myself like
hippie-ish.
if all the money and freedom in the world, like I want my own little space with my friends close enough to me so I
Okay.
can walk to their porch.
So,
you know?
Shani, if you had $4 million right now, what would you do with your life? And same thing for Lindsay after that.
Such a fun question.
Or however
The
much
only-
money you need.
I wanna
I'll
hear
say
in the
4
chat,
million.
too.
That sounds like enough.
The only thing too different than right now is that the space that I build for myself will be architecture. It will feel perfect. It won't feel like a brutal box that I'm stuck
That'll be
in.
rad.
Every
I think
room
that's-
will feel perfect.
That's number one for humans is like create your nest,
Yeah.
you know, like make a space that is conducive to the things that you want in your life, not something that is cheap to build and cheap to rent and all that. Yeah, but go ahead.
Technically functional.
And I want, people, my friends and family close enough in this little area in a town. It could
But
in the
not too
exact same
close.
town. No, I don't mind them close enough to walk because I'm pretty good about using my words to tell people when I need my time and space. And that's what I find that people respect it. If I'm just like, hey, I just need this time, people will give it to me. And so as I'm learning to use my words and tell people that, the people that used to be the most annoying to me in my life, I'm not having as issues with anymore, because it was a hard thing for me to move back even close to my family and friends in this way, because I always lived across the country. But not too many. I would love a studio on my little property, so then I could travel more and see you guys and your places and visit and other people, and they could show me their friends and networks, and that would be happening all over the world. And we'd be working on each other's little properties and their little miniature Edens and facilitate ideas and dreams and goals for each other. And you would have like the coolest water system, and I'm like, I'm going to totally take that back to Florida. I don't know why we're not doing that. And then I'd be like, hey, why don't you try? You don't have to kill that chicken. You can actually just put wooden eggs in there, and then it'll let it sit in there all at once. Eventually it'll come out. Like, just put wooden eggs under her. Like, leave her, let her just brood in there. She'll come out eventually. What is that, a Brody hen or something? Whatever. But I just, whatever the freedom of the idea is, I think ideas are super important, and the freedom to have them is important. And so, like, this is the first time in my life that all the money in the world would change the least about my existence.
That's good.
I love it. I love the rounded, like, globular sort of like structure. Like, I have that in my ideals as well, to build something, even if it's like a yurt, just something round. Like, it would be nice to not have square walls.
Looked into Super Adobe?
I don't know. I've looked into hempcrete. Like, they just spray it on whatever you want, and it's rad.
It's beautiful. It's a wonderful product. Super insulative, very strong.
Yeah.
But Super Adobe is.
Resistant to rot.
Do you know what Adobe is?
It's just mud and hay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Super Adobe is the same thing, except for you're using, like, when you build Adobe bricks, like Adobe brick houses, you make the mix of mud and hay, and it's a different mix, but not that different. And then you like set it in a form to make a brick, and then you dry it, and then with that brick
It's
you
like straw bale.
make. Yeah,
Right?
same. It's like or bricks.
Or
You
mud.
know, like
Yeah.
you're
We used
making
to-
bricks first, and then using it.
I think at the alternative school I went to, we made that, but I don't remember very much about that time. But I also would really, really just want my number one on my list, besides just having like a really cool
$4 million. What do you do, Linz?
permaculture roundish house thing, multiple buildings. So like you were saying, Shane, you could have people come stay and like work in the community for a while, or like hang out in the community, whatever, add to the community for a while, come and go. But also I really just want, right now our house is so tiny. I think we have 800 square feet. It's fine. Like, it works for us, but like we don't, my boyfriend is an artist, and I am, whatever I am.
An artist.
Artist too-ish. And we both would like really desperately thrive in our own space. But right now our spaces are like mashed together, and we make it work, and it's okay.
So you need a central space. That's
need
like
our
the
own, like-
living quarter, bedroom, whatever area,
Yeah.
and then you need
not gonna be as small as we want, but like
a Lindsay Ling
just Lindsay,
wing.
just Johnny. Like, yeah, that'd be rad.
What,
Water features.
Johnny in the house? What up? What up?
What up? What up? Johnny in the house.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
What about you, chats? $4 million. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you guys gonna do? And I want to be out of the city on like actual property. So we have a good amount of
What-
property here, which is rad. Our house is tiny, our property is kind of good, but it'd be cool to be like out and about. But yeah.
Do you guys have a natural disaster that you would have to worry about, that you would have to build your house in a specific way? Like for us in Florida, we do.
Yeah.
And it's really anxiety of mine. Like the older I get and the more responsibility of certain people I feel like I have, that's the roundhouse thing. I don't want wind to gather anywhere in my house, and I want it off the ground on stilts.
Smart.
But instead of wood, I want like the way they build docks or bridges. I want to go all the way down to like the bedrock of our state.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, you guys have bedrock. It's not bedrock, but it's like old coral,
or whatever it is.
basically,
Yeah.
right? But
Something's under there. Yeah,
That's what the coral castle was made out of. Is that shit?
Yes. Have you been there?
Yeah, it was rad.
Me too.
Yay! And
What's the coral capital?
Coral Castle is.
I felt left out.
It's this thing where everybody's like, "How did he build it?" He's this tiny guy. His name's Ed. He's like, what was he, like 4 foot? He was tiny.
He was a tiny little man.
Yeah.
That's tiny. That's a couple inches away from midget.
Yeah.
He was like Joe Rogan's height.
And he came from
five and a half
Lithuania
inches
or something. I don't remember where he came from, but it's definitely Masonic. He has like all of the planets, maybe not all of them, but at least Saturn and like the important ones up on.
Mostly Saturn.
Yeah, and but dude, it's so crazy. Like he has a sundial that's accurate to within like a millisecond or something. He's got this like scope.
This is in Florida?
It's all out of stone / coral that you mine from under the ground, because Florida just lays on top
Here,
of coral,
I took a picture on. Let's see if I can ever do this.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
See, Masonic. There's the,
Like Masonic, like it's masonry, or Masonic like it's the Freemasons?
Literally, he's a Mason, yeah. But that's how people are like, did he do it by levitation? Because he built this by himself, and you just saw Chady Choji.
Is that the guy that said he knew how the pyramids were built, and then he did all this weird shit?
And he built it as a love, like a love. But the weird thing is, I think she was really young, and he was
16.
older.
Yeah.
Like now, when I start linking together the stories
16?
with everything I know about, I'm
That's
like,
pretty young.
Yeah, but at that time, it was
She can
pretty
drive,
normal.
but
I'm not trying to defend a Mason if they're actually as evil as everyone thinks and as we have a lot of evidence for, but he seemed kind of sweet. But I have a thing for, like, tiny old people, so. Not like a sexual thing, just like a, aw, they're so tiny and old. Cute. That's how I feel about
there
it.
is some really romantic gestures in this whole square coral castle, and he made the entire thing. Every day that he worked, he thought of her, that one day she'd be there, and I don't think she ever saw it. I don't think she ever came. And I even think he built it somewhere else in Florida at some time, and then a city wanted him to move it there, and he said he would only move it there if they like put up a fence and no one could watch him work, and he would do it in the night. And it was so like him alone. No workers ever came in and out.
No one
and
saw any of the construction.
There was like a chaise lounge type thing that he, it was probably like queen bed size, maybe smaller.
Grotto.
Yeah, and then there was a spot like where I'm sure it was super perfectly aligned with like a moon come through at a certain time, and then like
it's like a tiny circle through the stone, and on a
dude,
it's on
I'm gonna be real honest with you.
Spring equinox. On the spring equinox, you see the moon.
They murder people there. That's probably where Epstein. They probably all hang out there.
Probably. There's probably a hidden underground like channel there, and that's where they do it.
They shut the gates and they're like, no one can watch me work. And they're like murdering people and calling on demons.
And then they blame it on a serial killer.
And then I'm there just like hanging out in the chair, and I'm like, take a picture of me.
And they're like, Ted Bundy did it.
But I think he honestly did it through like leverage and Masonic tricks. Like I think it seems like it's just like that whole thing. Like anything significantly advanced enough seems like magic or whatever. Like. I think if you just don't know the secrets, it seems very elusive, but actually there's probably pretty good. But some of the stones are like tons and like 16 tons, or I don't remember how many tons. A lot of tons.
And he had a box, like probably the size of he had a square box, and it was a metal box, and everybody always saw like a tripod of logs, and he would move these heavy stones that it didn't quite make sense that the logs were strong enough to pick up the stones, and he would just tie up ropes like you're saying at corners with leverage, but no one ever saw him ever lift any of the stones.
How do you get it on the ground even?
And apparently this box on the top of these things right after his death, people in suits came in and they never saw the box again. And every part of his tools exists still at the Coral Castle today, except for the box that's only in like 3 pictures.
Dude, I bet it really actually was sound levitation, because I think that's what the pyramids, I think that's how they were built. That's just
I think the whole
conclusion.
psyop, the reason they burned everything that the Mayans made is because of that. It's like there's this level of technology that doesn't require centralized control to access. It just requires knowledge. It just requires, like, hey, if you make something out of gold and you angle it in the right way, then you can ding it off of something like ding, and then you can use it to move stuff.
Or make
and it's
specific
really
sounds through it, like
it's really
magic.
That simple.
I think
sense to
human
me.
being, without, let's say, the evil, whatever evil, the
Nancy
evil
Pelosi.
deities that are out for themselves instead of out for the whole, whatever that means in the small intention of those people, I think they shove metal into our deodorants, metal into our vaccines, metal into our teeth, metal into our food, metal into everything they spray in our skies. It's like, in my opinion, what you do with metal, and they put metal in every wall in our house, metal in every city, in every wire. They make us sit in metal cars. They make us sit. It's all about trapping us, because that's how you keep energy away from other energy.
Yeah.
And if they can slowly do this to us over time, what if Jonathan said something once, like, what if like,
It was really wise.
plants, it's one of my favorite things. He said, what
I
if
don't know what she's gonna say, but I know
it was
that
the best.
he said, what if plants made humans just to get their seeds to the highest parts of the mountain? You know, like, we always think about us coming from animals, but what about if we came from plants in a whole different way? And so what if, not just from plants, but what if we came from Earth in a way to put the perfect balance in it? You know, like, I know there's something with witchcraft. I'm not even going to put the two together. I was about to say I know there's something with witchcraft and then say a scene from The Craft. So I don't know either of those two. So I know something from the Church of Hollywood. And there's a lady in a bookstore, and she says, anytime that you do something for yourself in the universe always has to adjust itself back. So it will always come back to you. Like, it always, when it's selfish, it always has to readjust eventually, no matter what it takes. It has to kind of keep once it's selfish. But if you're doing it for the whole, then it'll just go the opposite. Well, it'll blow up for the better. So what if the earth created us to be a constant rebalancing of right? And you know how we have this instinctual thing of, like, a human being, a mother of 3, will run into a house to save a child that is not her own, or even a cat that is not her own, at risk of everything. And that's for any human. I just use that one example. Like, with everything to lose, a human with everything to lose will risk its life for the smallest life. They can't watch suffering. So what if the earth made us to balance all the rights? And the more metal that's shoved into us, and the more shitty food we're all being forced into McDonald's, and the more shitty clothes they make us wear that's of mixed fabrics and plastics in them, we're off. So we don't know we're attached to each other anymore by being energy beings. We don't know we're attached to the planet, and it's always what if we are the thing that connects right? Like, we're the thing but we just don't know it anymore. And they've convinced us that we're evil and that our human nature is selfishness. But it's the opposite of that. Like, what if everything they convinced us of about ourselves is the complete opposite?
I know
and
that's
we're
true.
the writers.
I've been in several situations where, like, I drove up on a wreck one time, and I was like 13 years old, and it was on fire. There was a car flipped over in the median, or not in the median, but in the side of the road in the ditch, like upside down. And there was a lady just, like, strapped in to her seatbelt, hanging and, like, choking on her seatbelt. And I was 13 years old, and I didn't even think about it. You know, I just, like, dove into this fucking burning car and, like, picked her up so I could unbuckle her seatbelt and dropped her out. Even though I was thinking the whole time, like, oh, she might have a broken neck, and if you move her, she's going to die. Well, like, she's going to die if the car blows up, too. So it's like, I'm the only one here. It's 20 miles from town, and I'm going to save this person's life. And it wasn't even a question if I was going to do that or not. It was just like, this is what I have to do.
there's two things. One, this is what my books are about. If you want to read fictional stories about exactly that premise, then you can go buy Earth, A Trough in Time and Sine Curve of Aeons by Talos. There are sequels.
How do we say that? Earth, A Trough in Time.
Earth,
How do you spell trough?
Trough, Trough. They're both.
I'm gonna be because I was looking up stuff to like inspire me to write my little Lindsay thing, and I'm like, why is every word that Lindsay has in her books things I don't know if I can repeat and say again? Like where I'm like, I know what that means to put it in a sentence with. So
well, the trough comes from me being a farm girl when I was young, because the trough is just what a cow drinks out of. So
yeah.
Trough in Time, but because we're in the dark age, so the sine curve of aeons, right? We have peaks and we have troughs, and so right now we're in the trough of time. But they're in a series, they're going to be a trilogy, but you can read them in any order. So I kind of suggest that you start with Earth, A Trough in Time, because it's modern, it's like right now, and it's also much shorter and easier to read. But I wanted to say also that thing about humans, what if we are like, the counterbalance, or like the thing that like is opposed to evil, or that can actually, well, anyway, I'm just going to say we are literally halfway between heaven and earth, which is weird because, well, you'll find out if you listen to the end of the show why this is weird that it's coming up now. But, heaven, earth, human is exactly the midpoint between it. Our consciousness level, in our physical location, and in every aspect, energetically, like we're halfway between heaven and earth. And then you look at what's the strongest point in our energetic body?
My biceps.
Yes.
Fun show.
It's our heart chakra. If you look at our chakra system, we have 3 above and we have 3 below, and then we have our 1 in the middle. And we actually have some other very significant energetic chakra-like points, but those are the ones we
Isn't there like
talk about.
70 something chakras really? But we just talk about the
17.
If you're looking if you're looking at like Chinese medicine, there's like nearly infinite energy points that are significant, right? But if you're talking about like your main like sort of spiritual energetic channel or body, then there's the 7. There's your crown and this one and your throat, and then your heart, which is right in the center of your body, mass-wise of your body, energetically. Then you look at your heart, right? Your heart is literally a vortex. It's literally a portal. It's a vortex. It's the only vortex. It's a vortex in your body. You have a vortex in your body. And your energetic signature is like this double torus, which is the shape of the universe. It's the shape of every cell. It's the shape of everything energetic.
I thought the universe was flat, though.
Maybe. Depending on what perspective you're looking at it from. So you're this double torus. The exact center of it is right here. Well, you have one that goes up and down, right, laterally or whatever, vertically. And then you have one that goes horizontally. And where do they meet? In your heart. You're the center of heaven and earth, and the center of you is your heart. Your heart is the center energetically. It's the most powerful point on you. It's a vortex. It literally can allow energy from who knows what other types of portals and vortexes around the entirety of existence.
This is what I heard, is that your navel is the first thing that develops, right? Like that's what connects you to your mother.
Yeah.
So the navel space is the first thing that happens when you become a zygote. Yes. And from there, from the navel, which every person has like their set of birth cells still in the navel, like the first 6 cells or whatever it is to make the first little flower of life in the progression is still there. Like that's where your core is. Like that's where everything radiates out from. But the next thing that happens is your heart. Yeah. Before the brain, before anything else, they start building heart neurons, and the heart has more neurons than any other part of your body than your brain. And but they're the ones that told the brain to start making itself. Like the heart brain was the first intelligence, and it's the last intelligence, and it's the one that knows like where you're going, and it sees the big picture
and
stuff.
It's the key to literally everything. When people are talking about because I talk about magic, I don't really care about ceremonial magic. I don't really care about like grimoires and stuff. In my life, the things that I've done that are miraculous, like I didn't even really do. What happened was a severe amount of energy came out of my heart chakra and combined with my action to make life fucking insane, right?
What is that main moment in your life? If that's kind of a weird question, but like when you felt that anointing, or when you felt that like energization of your like cell, like your mitochondria, right? Like it's like your whole body is like, whoa, this is what we're supposed to do, and it's not like you're thinking about it either. It's just like
just
I
happens.
know what to say, and it's not even that. You just say it.
It's like that thing where you're like, have you ever been so fully in the moment that you're literally just like in that moment only? It's that same, if you could do this on purpose, right? Like bring your focus into just this moment only and have that energy in your heart, I literally think you could do anything. I don't think there's
It's like
anything that's
the
limited.
want and need duality. That's not a real duality. I think that's what a lot of people get caught up in. It's like, I want this, or I need this. I really need this new job. I really need this new thing. But if you can like align those two emotional states, which is kind of like the more raw version of reality is the emotional state, is that like you want this because you think that it's going to make your life better, but you also need it because you know it's going to make your life better. And if you can figure out how to align those 2 points, then you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Like that's the trick.
You can create anything. This is how manifestation works, right? You're bringing your focus into this very vivid moment that you can see and feel and hear and touch. You're like in your mind, but in your imagination, but you're creating it. And then you combine it with that emotion. If your emotion about it is like, and everyone who's practiced manifestation knows this, if your emotion about it is like, I don't really have one, I'm just doing this to see what happens, like it's not really going to work. If your emotion is like, I don't really believe in myself or this, like I feel scared of this or anything like that, like it's not gonna really work. If you're genuinely feel like love about it, like it happens 100% of the time. So you genuinely feel love and you focus that much that you're like creating it as a moment that you focused on. I don't know. And then especially if you combine it with action. So like I always say, my magic is like you combine action, emotion, and imagination. Now you're doing magic. Like, if you do it on a certain day at a certain time with, like, holding a feather, I don't know, maybe. Like, I don't really care about that, though.
Yeah, but that's a whole another layer just to, like, concretize the physical part.
It, like, gives it, It's like the idea of, like, if you're thinking about blue cars all the time, you're going to start seeing blue cars all the time. So if you're, like, thinking about like, okay, in a week from today at 2:45, like I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a feather and I'm going to have this kind of rock and I'm going to face this direction. Like you're putting all those thoughts and energies into it. You're just making it stronger. I'm not saying those things aren't effective or aren't good or whatever. I just myself don't have that much discipline, or like I just find that my version is enough. It works for me.
Yeah.
And trusting like your own instrumentation when you're being called to, instead of having to necessarily at this time on this night, because I read it in this book and this person told me, or feng shui, even like all these little things that have kind of been given rules to, how about just if you find what feels good? Like, how about if you just trust yourself again and be like, this feels
mantra.
Nice. Yes.
Find what feels good is the mantra of my
Adrian?
Yoga with Adrian.
Yoga with Adrian. Shout out. I would love to have yoga with Adrian on.
I love that we
She's
all
good.
know who that is and love
That's
her.
so weird. That's so weird. I've done maybe 2 yogas with Adrian, but my wife has, like, the reason she really got into yoga was because of Adrian. Like, she's tried it a bunch of times. But finding Adrian, she's been doing it for 4 years now. And she just finished another, like, 30-day set that she does.
I can't even tell you how much Adrian, kind of at a time where I really needed it of depression, she totally changed my life. Like, it was what I needed. It was like she was my next Egyptian step up to wherever I'm at right this second.
So both of my 2 closest Scorpios in my life are down with yoga with Adrian. So any Scorpios out there.
2 things. One thing that Adrian had that I was like, I love that. Like, I was watching on Instagram on #yoga with Adrian. You can look at these little camps that she's had. And I was just looking at people meeting Adrian and their pictures with Adrian. And I was like, oh my gosh, they feel about her like I feel about her. And it's not like of a guru but it's okay. Certain things in life we're not even, it's like you're not allowed to say those words because they're bad. But in martial arts, you're allowed to say somebody is your sensei.
Your master.
You're allowed to, you're allowed to have these things when they're teaching you something. Yeah. And I feel like Adrian, and she was a child's yoga teacher, and I think that's why she's so great. But she also, when you read the Armor of God on your was it Bright Winter?
Yeah.
When you read Armor of God, I said,
didn't
get
see
as
that.
esoteric about it as you want to, because that's an Adrian thing. Anytime she brings up a Buddhist quote, a Hinduism thing, or Christianity something, she always says, you guys, this is just a good philosophy. Get as esoteric about it as you want to.
That's so weird, dude. My wife literally has Adrian on in my living room every day, like between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she does it, and I have to shut the fuck up. I'm like, this is not your time.
I'm going to
make
tell
dinner.
you, every couple should yoga with Adrian together and do the first 30 days. Like her find what feels good. And that was like a big philosophy that I was like, gosh, I'm going to do that with my house. I'm going to do that with my friends. I'm going to do that with my Facebook feed. I'm going to do that with my life. Like I am an instrument of God. And if I do it without selfishness in my heart and really take my ego out of my actions and allow myself to be an instrument of something bigger, I'm finding like, even after I say it, I'll be editing and I'm like, fuck, I don't even feel like I can take any credit for it. It came from us, you guys. Like all the little tiny inspirations of bravery, like when you were saying, I watched UFC weekend, everybody knows it. There's a big, huge UFC fighter that even if you don't know anything about UFC, his name's George St. Pierre, GSP. He's a Canadian guy, and he's a big, huge representation of a beautiful fighter.
Yes.
Like everything it means to be not just looks but his person.
Yeah, he's a good person.
But also his looks.
But also
super sexy.
He's also very he's very sexy. He is, any person that likes UFC, they would put him in their top 20 of all time, most in their top 10. Some would put him on their Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters of all time. Like some would call him the best.
Right? How many people are on Rushmore? 4 or 5?
4.
Oh,
4 right now, but there's space for DJT. But we got a little bit of time left.
Every
2001
Mount Rushmore has Donald Trump on it.
No, but
the UFC one.
He is one of the best fighters in the world, and backstage, and we mock it sometimes and laugh because he has a Canadian accent, but everyone knows backstage he will cry and panic and be like, and there's Brennan Schaub, one of Joe Rogan's friends, who was backstage with him one time before he fought, and he was trying to get his own head right before his fight, and George St. Pierre was pacing around and he was like, Brendan, I am terrified. I do not want to do this. And it was kind of like, but then calm. And it's almost like that you're about to get into flow state. It's always when you're somebody that knows how to draw on your flow state and you get better at using the instrument of whatever chakra you work in, whether you're doing a math puzzle, whether you're speaking on a podcast, whether you're just working in a hospital, when you know you're about to draw on that for something heavy, it always is terrifying first. But the better...
Every psychedelic trip is like that.
And that's a guy that gets punched in the face for a fucking living and one of the best in the world at it.
It's going to hurt bad. Like the whole thing is going to be bad. Everybody's going to watch. The recovery is going to be long. Like, I've been in a couple fights. I've been in some real fights without any training. And I realized right away that this shit is fucking hard. Like no matter what, you can run for a long, like I can run a couple of miles and stuff like that. I could not run a couple of miles right now.
Yeah.
But I could at one point. And, but being in a fight with this dude, it was a Mexican dude and he was like 2 years older than me. And he was like picking on my brother. So like, yeah, I'll just go punch him in the face because I'm a badass. And I was like 14 years old. And then I punched him in the face. And I was like, yeah. And then I realized it was not over.
It's not over.
Like,
my hand kind of hurts.
There's a whole other progression of stuff. No, my hand hurt. And also he's very, very mad now that I did that. And so now I got to fight him. And then like grab his fist when he's trying to punch me and like hold back. And like he's pushing with all he has and I'm pushing with all. And it's like 30 seconds later, I'm done. Like I'm out of energy. And luckily I'm 6'5" and weigh 225 pounds, and so I could just like hold him down with my massive weight, because if not, I would have literally got the floor wiped with me, because I couldn't fight. This requires so much conditioning and training, and no matter how much you run and stuff like that, like when you fight, it's like all of your energy is being used the whole time. So you have to be able to like pace that out and stretch it out, and I don't know, it's a whole other world.
I want to go back to the thing about like the heart chakra and when it can use that and how it connects with flow state, and just this concept that I think is pretty important. And before I say that, I want to address someone in the chat said heart energy, in the Rogueways chat at least, said heart energy is most effective within 5 feet, which is, I think, true for like the vast majority of people who are not consciously
developed
using that.
Is your heart energy your aura? Is that the same thing?
Your aura, from as far as I can tell, is definitely connected to that, but your mental body is also going to be sending energy into that field. So I don't really know exactly what that field is made of, but both like emotion and thought can affect it. As far as I can tell,
that's the higher dimensional stuff, right? Like the higher dimensional stuff is like our what we think about, like this is ratcheting it up a little bit. Like
I think you cut out for me.
Yeah.
For a minute. No, your mic's fine, but just repeat your thought. It might have been the internet for a second.
That the visual and audio and like all these other parts that we think about from our three-dimensional state as separate things, that when these things come together, that's what makes the next, like the electromagnetic connection, and these higher bodies that we have is made up of our 5 senses, and our 5 senses combine in different ways to make up the like clairvoyance, clairaudio, and all these other things. So it's just like the next stage of our development. And I don't remember the other part of that thought that I was trying to get to.
But that's what the aura is sort of made of.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
And so this person, I think, is right in general, that most people's, their field sort of stops probably around 5 or 6 feet. But another person just hopped in and said telepathy is not bounded by locality, and neither is your heart energy, and neither is your emotion, neither is anything about you outside of your physical being, and none of it's bound by locality. So this 6 feet rule might be effective in keeping us from connecting somewhat until we're conscious and aware that we can do anything anywhere. When I give a blessing to somebody, there is no distance, there's no time, I can go back in time, forward in time, not me. And that's the next thing I want to get to, is that it's not even really like me. It's not like
it is though too. Like that is it's like we always want to give it away. I'm sorry for interrupting so much.
No, I'm with you. I'm exactly with you.
You know what I mean? Like there's both parts of it. Like yes, this is the other thing, but you also have to like be proud of it.
Yes, you have to. Well, you have to be prepared for it and ready for it and understand it, and just like we were just saying, like if you're not conscious of it, you can't use it. So like you preparing yourself as a vessel or a channel or whatever you want to call it, you are actually doing this thing. And I'm totally with you. I just I encounter a lot of people who are like, none of it's me, it's this other thing. But it's like I say with my book, definitely came from somewhere else, definitely came to me, and I like channeled it through. But if I hadn't been writing my whole life, I wouldn't be able to write a book. So like it is both of us. It's
I'm involved in this motherfucker.
Right.
It's the co-creative thing. That's what I always loved about Hermeticism, is that like instead of the God the Father, it's God the brother, God the sister, God the sibling, like God the other half of me,
so
God the thing that created me so I could do all this stuff. So like because
you have probably also met or encountered your like soul, if you want to call it that, like your like real true self, your highest self or whatever. And when you encounter that, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like that's not me. And then you realize
it's so weird.
Like,
it's like
that's me. What the fuck? Like, it's insane. It's not what we're trained to think of ourselves as at least. But the moments.
I got that from Dolores Cannon.
Oh, really? See, I really barely even. I know who Dolores Cannon is, and I've read like a very small amount of her Nostradamus book, and that's like my extent of Dolores Cannon knowledge. But the thing I really want to get to is that whole idea of like, when do you make the most powerful magic, right? Like that combination of the emotion, the imagination, and the action being all together in one. But really, truly, the moments in my life where the most powerful energy has come through me and done things that like I said, it doesn't seem like me. Again, I had to be ready and able to do it, but like I didn't do anything. Are moments when I was in this sort of like flow state where you're almost like get out of the way, like just stop, because this thing is gonna like take control and get shit done. And that is actually nearly impossible to do. If you've ever, it's like the exact same as if you've ever tried to just become a dead weight suddenly, right? Like if you've ever, it's really hard. It's almost impossible because everything in your body is like, don't, no, like you're gonna hit the ground. It's
like
gonna hurt.
hold your breath for longer than you can.
Yes.
You know, like go underwater and just try to hold your breath for 2 minutes if you can only hold your breath for 30 seconds.
Yes.
And then your body's going to be like, no, stupid. We're stopping right now because you're going to die.
Everything in your ego is like, please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And you have to do it anyway.
Shani, you got something good? Go ahead.
Well, no, it's like the death of the ego, and it doesn't like it. But I really do believe, and I don't know how many, but the ego is just a whole bunch of little demons that have been put on you throughout your life, and your brainwashing and the I can'ts and the it's not because your experiences haven't led you here. And most of the time it's kind of the sad things that make I know it sounds so crazy, but in the weird analogy of like the armor of God type thing, if we were going to pick our teams, we're about to go to war versus each other, capture the flag, and all of these soldiers get before us and they all have the knighted armor on. I'm picking all the ones with the chinkiest armor because I know those MFers make it through battle.
That's
you
true.
can have the pretty armored people. And that's kind of how I want to pick my spiritual army. And those battles aren't with guns, and they aren't with bricks thrown through windows, and they aren't with fires and things like that. Those battles are all these little moments that they cried in fetal position on the shower floor and got themselves back up and like figured something out in that dark to get up of why, and like something else changed. You're like, am I going to cry on the shower floor every night? Or is something going to change somewhere? And it's like those moments, usually the thing that gets us off the fucking floor, and this is the weird part even about animals again, if it's the tiniest amount of love for something, sometimes it's not ourselves. That's why a lot of people, when they lose their animal, that animal got them through such a dark time because there was that 2-week period they lost the love of their life and didn't get out of bed and didn't feed themselves and just covered themselves in alcohol, that they kept their lights on and didn't totally lose their job because of their fucking cat or their dog or their, whatever. So I think the tiniest amount of love, that's what changes things. And that tiny amount of love usually is like living in the moment of lack of ego where you just care about something else other than yourself. And so I think on the whole of this crazy fucking election in 2020 and everything it's been with this MK Ultra mind control year, it's like, I think the great awakening is us trusting those moments. But the important thing is, like you're saying, all the work and everything else, what I'm realizing of taking my ego out is if I don't have the appropriate mirrors to hear my echo back, that fucking sound's never going to come out. Mm-hmm. It's like a red bricks, how did the music make the building or did the building make the music? It's like, I don't know if I made the thought or if this conversation did. And so it's kind of like, but it's just the smallest amount of love really does create the biggest amount of bravery. And bravery can bring freedom to everything.
Red brick for life. I got to talk loud when I turn my mic back.
Yeah,
if not,
so
it picks up the air conditioner.
Yeah. So I just don't. Fear is leaving my life less and less, but that's in the ego too. When you say things and you're scared, like if I say I'm pro-American right now because the idea of freedom's bigger than the idea of President Trump, a lot of people might hate me, and a lot of people might say this about me, and a lot of people might say this and think this and all these things. But I am blessed. I got to come out of the closet as a lesbian and live in the closet for such a long time of my life. When I did come out, I was like, I'm never, ever, ever going to live in the closet about anything else in my life again. And so that blessing of getting to do that, now I'm telling my straight friends, like, this is what it feels like to live in the closet. Come on out.
See,
Come on
well,
out.
this is the key too, right? So any single one of us, this is the thing I think people don't realize enough of, like, how powerful you are. Every single person listening to this, which is all the people who love Idiocalypse and all the people who love Rogue Ways and all the people who will look at this later.
We love you guys.
Love you guys. All of you guys are so desperately important in the world because of exactly that. So, like what you said, Cheney, when you go into, like, the cave, right, and you slay the dragon and then you come out the other side, now you have the treasure. You bring the treasure back. You have it. It's changed you. You're done. Like, that's, your process is good. You bring it back, though, to everyone else. You're like, look at the treasure, guys, and now everybody gets that. And even if you're not out here, like, on a podcast screaming about it or whatever, you still have it. You're holding that energy here on this plane, and you're halfway between heaven and earth. That's what you're here for. You're here to hold that energy here. So it's like, I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to, like, slay your own demons and battle your own dragons and come out of the
Number
cave.
one thing.
Number one thing. You know,
That's
we're all
why
like,
we're here.
yeah, we're like, what can we
Yeah,
do?
but-
What can we do? How do we save the world? I'm like, that is literally how you save the world. You save yourself. That's what all the masters say. They've said it for thousands of years. Every text we have says it. That's what you do.
The fruit does not come from the trunk of the tree. Like, the trunks hold, like, strong enough to hold up certain branches, and then you get the fruit at the end. Like, you wonder if, like, do the roots ever get to see the fruit? Do the roots of the tree? It's like, I believe the whole tree works together and still knows it all exists.
Mushrooms.
And that's us.
Mushrooms.
Like, that's us.
The
I know.
Go ahead, please.
No, I just know when I'm in my moments of being in fetal position of, like, what the fuck is going on? And my moments that I cry is that other people are just being so complacent. But I remember screaming about this stuff like, you guys are just okay with the Patriot Act. This is just happening. This is how long it's been going on. So yeah, and so in these dark moments of these little friendships that I've made, of Rogue Ways, being able to turn it on election night and not have to, for that hour, for me, of what I was doing in the night and everything heavy in my day, to just for an hour, I knew a place that I could find and not hear about it. I knew a place without a propaganda and without an agenda, and a trust that I never met you, may never will. I hope I do. I hope I do a million times. But a trust that I have for you because of an energy I feel for you. I don't even know where you're at, but I know that this person there, and then I know, gosh, there might be 1,000 other people that think and feel and love like Lindsay. There might be 10,000 other people that think and feel and love like Jonathan. And then there might be 1,000 people that feel like them in this web of all these people. And if we're all just brave enough to stand up, it's like we're all here. And so in my darkest times, stop looking at the top of the pyramid, start looking at the foundation, stop looking at the rotten fruit at the edge of the tree, and start looking at the trunk. Like, there's so many strong parts of it. I don't know. I just think there's so much sadness that people are forcing on themselves with these black mirrors. And you could just turn on Rogue Ways, rogue.local.com, and you could, instead of all this, like, despair. It's your decision. Like, you got to change yourself first. It's your decision what reality you live in right now.
Yeah. And it's like a lot easier said than done sometimes, and I don't think anyone here is gonna, like, diminish that truth, that, like, sometimes it's really hard to just make simple choices like that.
The ants have strength in numbers.
But yeah.
And everybody has their own community of people that think like them, and they all know people, and they can all meet places at the same time, because it's not about, I'm not brave enough by myself. There's a lot of Floridians. So I don't ever, every time there's always at least one other person. I never have to feel alone in my fight. And so you guys can actually grassroots that same thing that just happened here because of whatever energy I was lucky enough to be a part of. You guys can do that yourselves in your towns by just this being like, okay, 7:00 Tuesdays, maskless shop, Fred Meyer. 30 of us, let's see how that rolls.
Yeah.
We got a half hour.
They have like 2 or 3 people dedicated to, like, squirting stuff on people. And if you walk in all at the same time, they're going to be like, oh, fuck, I can't I can't squirt this fast.
Or
You
just
know,
one
like, what
person
am I?
be brave enough to like kung fu chop the spray.
Love
We're
punch.
not
Yeah.
We like to call it a love
advocating.
punch here.
Oh, we were gonna draw the tarot card.
I really think we should jump on with the Grimerica boys and let's all pitch in for a cruise ship.
That'd be pretty
Let's
good.
like set up our own island. Maybe get 2 or 3 different cruise ships so we can have our like the anarchist and the voluntarist and the Republic cruise ship.
This is what I think. No one runs from anywhere. I don't care what your country is. I don't care what your state
this
is.
chain.
I don't care what your city is.
You're right.
You were put there by God for a reason because it starts with you. Way back when, my favorite conspiracy theorist ever, who I hope will be on the show one time, he told me, and he would always grab me by the shoulders. Like literally, I'd be bartending with like 6 head deep people, and he'd be bartending, and he would grab me by the shoulders in the middle of the weeds, and he'd be like, "Just remember, when you're in line for the ovens, if you say no, they'll all say no too." And like just shitty stuff like that all the time. Like,
No, that's beautiful. That's like the best advice you could ever get. You know, because that's really what's happening right now. We're being led into the fucking ovens because everywhere you look, it's just people consenting. Every you know, there's signs everywhere in every store, everywhere you go, there's masks, and it's just like the people's obedience, as always, is leading us into the fucking ovens.
It's true.
because we always think we would try to do the nice, right thing. We're not doing it to be dicks ever. Like, really try to look at all the people that they're like, I just don't, I have to go, I live with my parents. They're elderly. I'm just taking the extra precautions. It almost becomes the don't step on cracks either, because you might break your mom's back on the way home. It almost becomes a superstition where I have to do this because if my mom dies, it's all going to be my fault. And that's where we're at in the world with it now, which is then you're doing the magic on yourself. Like you're mentally putting this lotion to everybody's sickness just because you wanted to go and get a gallon of milk.
Yeah. It was like, this is pretty random, but when people were like, why won't you just wear a mask for other people and just, it makes them feel safer, and I'm like, why won't they not wear a mask because it makes me feel safer?
Yeah,
Why should
I
that
feel
doesn't
really
make
unsafe
sense.
walking around with a bunch of people believing the government.
Yeah. Well, here's the card for the question. What the question was just, how should we respond to the current, situation?
I always get closer to the
love
computer.
This is
Like it.
I know. Me
Hey,
too.
give me a second.
It's 9 of Wands, and it's a card of power. And so we can look at the number 9 first of all, and know that 9 is like this number of totality. What do they say? Like 9/11 is happening because 9 is actually like the final stage, and 11 is like already surpassed into the next paradigm or dimension or whatever, and you skipped 10, so like no one can actually ever get there. They're just stuck to repeat the cycle. So anyways, 9 is sort of this like completion number. So if this is like saying like this is maybe like the completion stage of everything that's happening, some people think this is literally, Gary Wayne calls it the terminal generation, and that we are literally living through like the end times, which depending on your perspective would mean just that this era or this age is ending, not necessarily that like there won't be life after this.
The beginning is nigh.
Right, like
What's
you have
worse
you have a soul. You're
than
not
time?
You're not going to end.
Time's the worst. The end of time seems like awesome.
Like good,
so
yeah.
calendars and clocks, and we're not going to age anymore, are going to go away. Oh, okay. Well, everyone just relax. It's just the end of time.
So this is that sort of energy. It's not a bad thing. It might be a completion or an ending of sorts, but the idea of these spears is one of like our and I say our because spears can be sort of a social suit. Spears, yeah, or
Brittany?
wands in
Yeah.
some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's sort of a social energy to them, so this is sort of saying also like, let's work together, or this is a
Like, let's work together against whoever's on the other side of the spears.
yeah, because it's also, we were just talking about our power our power as people, and like you were saying, Jonathan, this is sort of almost like it's not egotistical, but you do have to like know yourself and know that you're powerful and choose that in order to really do it well, right? Like, you can't give that away. And so if we're all standing in our power, we're all working together, and even if we know that this is like the end sort of things, of some things at least,
good.
That's the way we should respond according to this random card pulled at this random time.
It's not random. Nothing's random. I see that.
Will this involve violence? Maybe spears are also possibly about conflict, so that's not ruling out violence.
Let's work together again. Let's get on spears.
So, can you put that back up real quick,
Yes.
Linz? I see the I Ching up there.
Yes.
I see the stick.
So this deck is awesome because every minor arcana card has an I Ching hexagram that you can also then look up and see how it corresponds, and it's usually pretty like 1-to-1. Like this hexagram is probably about a similar type of power. I don't know if one of you wants to look it up. I'm not a I Ching person. I don't know what this one is.
Young Joey, we looked that up first. So this card is the same size as your head, or you have it really close to the camera?
Yes, I have it really close to the camera. It's giant. No, it's like... But I also love that behind it is like this stone almost tower, or almost like a tree trunk, which Cheney was just talking about, which is kind of synchronistic as well.
Yeah,
so
I see an owl.
Super grounded energy, and like super grounded energy that nonetheless is of that same sort of like strength and solidity that can take from the roots and the branches and leaves and like bring it all together right here, right now, is what I sort of see. Where is the owl?
I see those big eyes, right? Like if you look at the 9 on the top, the I Ching's on one side, and on the opposite side, in the exact same place, is like these eyeballs looking up. Like, yeah, exactly. What is that?
Interesting. Well,
what is that thing?
I don't know. Look, there's also like a bunch of bubbles embedded in the stone, which is often a sign of newness, like something, either an opportunity or just something, just born, something new is birthed.
Yeah. That explains a lot of the space station footage.
Yeah. Totally.
And 999 is what my conspiracy chicken that they took me off. And it's so crazy too, because I wrote you so many messages on Rogueways, but I wonder if they take off all my messages from all the...
Yeah, you disappeared from my... I have you there with all the people I talked to, and then like the conspiracy chicken Cheney was just like... Gone.
I could tell you didn't see it because I know everybody has different social media platforms that are their favorites. But I was just like... Weird.
Wait,
just
what?
gone, but
on what platform? I was gone?
Oh, like DM? No, I was gone. So I'm like, they're probably not there anymore. But I knew Instagram wasn't your favorite social media, or your preferred social media platform.
Yes.
But I added you on there, and I just like every once in a while when I listen to a show, you know how it'll put the date and time would be on there, and I'm like, one day Lindsay will see all these. It was not even a worry. I know, but it was but it's synchronistic. Like everything happens for kismet reason.
That's true.
So I have and the loss, lose it like a snake. lose your
shed
it's just skin, like
reborn.
scaffolding.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, and now you're in your second form like a Pokemon or something. You're like the conspiracy dragon.
Yes. Now I'm really self-conscious because I'm huge and you guys are tiny.
Oh yeah. So sorry about that. I did that and I didn't take it back.
It was perfect.
That does make it a little nerve-wracking where it's like, okay, you guys.
Let me try it.
People are going to come and be like, this is about Jonathan now.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I know, and you should be...
Show. Thank you for coming out.
We're in Delaware.
You could do the show like this for a minute with Jonathan on it, because I think all the people that would bitch or cancel us are celebrating in parades in the streets right now. So it would actually be the one time, Jonathan, that if you wanted to run the show as the big picture, that it would be allowed on YouTube.
Why is this white male dominating these women?
On top of them, no less.
I'm married to a Mexican with a Jewish daughter, so...
Wow.
I have all these points.
You
I have
do.
all these social justice points.
I love racking up the points. I love that none of my points really count. I guess being a woman counts, but I'm like technically a good amount of like native and like Asian, but Asian native, I'm like...
You're like scholarship level native? Or
What? No, well, yeah, I am, but I can't prove it, so it doesn't matter. I can prove it genetically, which I never would have done, but my brother did, because someone gave him one of those kits and he just did it. And so we learned our genetic history, which my father was adopted, so we didn't know exactly who, we know that he's like very obviously native, but we don't know from where or what or whatever. Closed adoption, and so he got the genetic test. We finally were like, oh, we really are like a good amount native, where like I don't remember the exact numbers. It was somewhere in the teens native, and then somewhere in the 30% range of native Asian, so I think like we might be of that tribe that is, I think they're called Samis. They're like
Mongolians.
They're like basically, yeah, they're like up on the northern edge of Europe, but they're not white. And they think they like basically like Mongols came up, and around the edge. So that kind of native, but like, so that's a significant amount, but I don't look it. My sister really doesn't. My sister's like pure white. I'm like olive-ish, and my brother's like darkish browner. So we all got like a different shade, but we can't prove it, and it doesn't matter. And so if I ever say that I'm native, people are like, yeah, okay, Cherokee.
Okay, Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. Like, it's fair, because I don't look it. And I have
Pocahontas.
So I don't get to claim that. When I was like, well, I'm technically not a Christian, but then I'm like, well, I am, because I think Jesus is rad, so I don't know. That doesn't count, I guess. And then I forget I'm technically disabled, but no one can tell, so that doesn't matter either. Like, I have all these isms, and I don't get to claim any of them. Except I have tits, and that matters somehow.
Tits?
Only if you show too much of them off and I want to grab them. Then it becomes the argument.
People are like, whoa.
I'll be like, she was asking for it.
She started it. It had nothing to do with this. Everybody loves tits. Yeah, or what is it, locals?
Locals
can
only.
Can you do tits on locals?
I don't know, actually. I know they're like purposely never going to censor, allegedly, until like the CIA gets in or whatever, or if they already are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea what their actual stance is on various things like that.
You guys, we should do kind of a version of the Union of the Unwanted, but we should change the wording of
the
it.
Ununion of the Wanted.
The ununion of the wanted. The dissolution of the
Yeah, like, and kind of like the same idea. I like kind of those where you get the people regularly together, even if it's far away, with just kind of one, a little theme-ish about what's going on. It's been hard for people to have themes because of how heavy the push is for us to even have to have a theme every week. That's the narrative push.
Yes.
But I just think it would be fun to meet up with people on, even if it was like once every 3 months and it was like a regular group.
Camping? Can we go camping? Let's go camping.
Are we allowed to do that?
That'd be rad.
Let's do a podcast under the open stars.
How's your guys'
like
freedom
both
in your
those
part of
ideas.
the country?
We're pretty free where I'm at. I still never had to wear a mask. Like I would if I went certain places. Like I think if I went to Walmart and stuff, I would. But I can go to various different stores, including some big chains, and they don't care. And so I've been able to do all my shopping. I've found places that will let me in basically for any task I have to do.
Yeah.
But
it's like that.
Fun? No.
It's not fun.
No, and you do have
Is it fun?
to
It's
like.
not fun.
It's not. We're not.
There
allowed to
is.
have fun.
I feel myself, my little inner GSP say, Brendan, I am terrified.
Yeah.
And I feel my own little Alex Stein where he says like, where everyone's like, how do you run through there and act crazy? And he's like, I'm scared every time, but I feel like it has to happen. So then I just like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm probably blushing. I look like an asshole. Like he says he has all these thoughts as he's in the middle of doing this
No
thing.
shit.
And I think the honesty about us being like, no, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was saying. But because when it affects other people, and that's where it's like once you start taking the credit and it starts being about the clout and you're like, I'm going to build something around this. This is going to become my thing. Then it's about you and you're not doing it for the whole anymore. And I think you unattach, you unplug from the ether. And I think we all have the ability to do it. Everybody's the superpower. And this is what else. I moved around schools and I had an older sister, and one time her piece of advice to me was, oh, just make friends with the meanest girl. No one will ever be mean to you. Like, whoever the scariest girl is, everybody has a friend like that doesn't give a shit. They're like backbone for days, and whoever that truther friend is of yours in town, start a movement. And you, like an army, you might just be the nurturer after everybody gets back and like, oh, that was scary. You might just be the one that be like, we did it, you guys, good hug. Like, everybody has their own roles.
That's the reason for the separation. That's why they're keeping us apart, is that we all play these different parts, you know. That's why they broke apart the tribe, why they're breaking apart the family, because some of us are nurturers, some of us are teachers, some of us are leaders, some of us are fighters, and we all have our part to play. But if you get all the leaders and all the fighters separated, then it's just weird. Like, you just get all this conflict.
It's much less effective.
Yeah, it is. Like, we have this programming that is perfect already, and that's what they're assaulting. You know, it's trying to split us up into this thing, but we're not nuclear families. We have individuality, but we're not individuals. You know, like, we're a part of this thing. Like, I have these things that Cheney doesn't have, and Cheney has these things that I don't have, and Lindsay has these things that neither of us have. And it works because we're all doing what we do, you know, best. And none of it's perfect, but as a group, it's almost perfect, you know. It's like as perfect as it can be, because that's the way that we evolved, of course. You know, we evolved working together, and now we're being separated, and we don't work separate. You know, we can't be separated.
We're not even animals.
We're not real things by ourselves. We're not, you know, that's like a new thing. It's like we become autonomous because we have all these mirror cells in our brain and all the stuff that's there to interact with people, because that's how it works. That's why, like, I posted this thing about George Carlin saying that, like, almost every person by themselves is a beautiful thing. Like, you can connect with any individual person, but even if you get 2 people together or 10 people together, then people, the first thing they do is give up their individuality to be a part of whatever group they identify with, you know? And so that's what's happening now. We've been split up from all the people that really love us, like a tribe, a family unit. Like, if you're really close with your aunts and uncles, then your aunt will die for you. Your grandmother will die for you. Like, all these people will, that's how much they love you. They will go out there and die for you. So they broke that to pieces. And your family's the same way. Like, your nuclear family, like your mom and dad and your brothers and sisters, will probably die for you. Like, they will definitely jump into the fight if you get attacked around them. I know my family fucking would.
Even if you started it and they agree with the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a beautiful thing. We are definitely more powerful together. And it's one of the things, though, that I think we're being taught, too, is, you may have to just find that structure in any random group. And that you also may have to bring forth your bravery to a very significant degree, partially because of that, because it's terrifying to try and make community with strangers, right? Especially in like a given just random moment, but also because you might be called on to do things that aren't in your natural role. Like, if you are naturally a nurturer, you are naturally this or that. Like, I know probably most people don't believe me, but I really actually am mostly an introvert, and like, even doing this show is like terrifying, and it has been the whole time, and it will be forever. Like, and half the shit
Me
I
too.
Say, yeah, right.
This is the only time I'm not worried.
Yeah.
You know, like, when I'm around people and stuff, it's all weird. But when I'm here with the cameras and I can, like, I've been deaf. I got surgery when I was like 9 years old, and they cut a nerve on accident, and so I have like 20% hearing in my left ear. Wow. So if I'm gonna hear you, I have to like orient my right side towards you. And so I've gone since 9 years old, like, not really understanding what the fuck was going on around me. And now for like the first time, I can turn up the volume, and I can hear everything everybody's saying. And not only that, I can hear the way I enunciate words and stuff like that. And so it's like, this is the first time I've ever been able to communicate.
That's
so I feel
awesome.
Less self-conscious here in front of this camera talking to Bill Gates and all these strangers than I ever have before.
I love that. Well, it's a lesson, though, to people, I think, too, is like, this takes half the shit I say. I'm like, how am I saying this out loud. Like, what the fuck? My heart's like, don't say that, that's dangerous. And I'm like, no, I have to say it. And
The Jews own the slave ships.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I also want to give a shout out to Heather, who just gave me a super chat, which is badass.
Woo-woo.
Thank you, Heather.
Love you, Heather.
And Heather says that her breathing is her superpower. And I love that because I think, again, like, everybody maybe doesn't realize how crucial they are. Everybody doesn't realize how very, very important they are. And everyone doesn't realize sometimes how simple it can be to empower yourself. And sometimes being with your breath is, like, literally a superpower. You can, like, calm yourself and be in the moment because of how you breathe. Like, that's amazing.
Even
and breath reminders are
breath.
so important.
Yeah.
Breath reminders on a death, like when somebody gets super wounded, a breath reminder on scene can change the game. Like somebody who actually is like, calm down, you're going to be okay, stay with us, you know, those kind of, you're really just getting them back into a meditative state or panic moments. Like people, or my wife had a panic attack at work once, and just one of the girls, you know, one of the other girls was just like, you know, this was forever ago now, but she was just on the ball with, stare at me, let's breathe together. And so that is super important, especially for anxiety.
And it's one of those things that, like, anybody can start doing. Maybe you're not going to be, like, perfect at it right away or whatever, but, like, I remember
Perfect
when I
at
was...
breathing.
Yeah. I remember when I was, like... I was just thinking about this the other day, when I was, like, 19 or something. I don't know. I took my first yoga class as part of a college
So, like,
PE
4
class.
years ago, judging by your skin and complexion.
Yeah. No, this is all just me being washed out by the bright light in my face and the bad camera. But, So I took this
Go to
yoga class.
rogue.local.com. Give us some money for a new camera and a better lighting system, guys. Come on.
People sometimes are surprised that I'm 38, and I'm like, really? Thanks, guys. But I really am 30. I'm turning 39 in like a month and a half. But I went to
baby, baby. I'm old enough to be a mother.
I went to this yoga class though, and I don't remember anything about the yoga, but I remember the teacher was like, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, hold. And I was like, holy shit, this is weird. But then I was like, oh my god, I'm like calm or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, it like blew my mind.
I've never felt this before.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even on drugs. Like, whoa. It was crazy. And I'm like, that was like the start.
Like your lion's breath, and it feels like you're a lion when you're doing it, and you start getting your stomach all into it, and it's your fire breath, and you can make yourself really hot when you do it in yoga, and then you have your, you know, cooling water breaths that you do to cool you down. And it's so crazy that you could just do that with just breathing.
You can do that while you're driving to work in traffic. You can do that while you're exercising. You can do that while you're knitting.
You can do that when they bring you to the FEMA camp and you're all alone in your cell.
Yeah, you could do that while you're being force vaccinated by Bill Gates once we elect him finally after we get 250,000 signatures for the president of the New World Order.
He's going to be like, actually, Jonathan Chaney, you come be my chancellors.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. Like, we realize that we've lost, and the only thing we can do now is to, like,
you're like Elon Musk, who's like, all right, AI is going to take over, so we just need to put it in our brain and be its bitch.
It works for the pigs.
The
It works for the pigs. Like, what else do we want?
Something in my bloodline that I've never been, like, hugely proud of, but now knowing what I know about history, maybe it's all wrong. I'm related to, like, a long time, like, Benedict Arnold. And
is that the egg guy?
The greatest American traitor of all time.
It's like, all I know is he's a traitor.
I know, it's like the Judas to Christ. It really is that to America. It's like kind of that same idea. But if you were like, if Bill Gates, I had that where you were like, oh my gosh, like what if our words are power and we are chancellors to Bill Gates? I pictured myself with a little short sword right under the ribs.
Yeah.
Right under the ribs. And I was like, Benedict Arnold, I felt like it. Like, oh, but that's where I'd be the traitor. Sorry.
Every time I'm like, it's just this game I'm playing. It's called Ghosts of Tsushima. Yeah, I think it's called Ghost of Tsushima. Anyway, there's
Ghost-
this part.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Spoiler alert.
There's
There's a dude who's like a traitor and whatever. He's with like the bad guy, and I'm like, okay, but now that you've turned on your whole nation and you're with the bad guy, like, why not just like stab him in the neck? Like, you're like, who cares what you've done in your past? You could take out this whole problem right now. Just do it. Like, I'm always thinking that in movies. I'm like, okay, now you've done it. You've gotten into the lair. Like, just turn on it. Just do it. No one ever does. The traitors never become traitors to the other side. Why?
Because then they might get killed. But it's like,
I'm like, that's
how
the only
often
reason
though?
to be a traitor is to then turn on the other side too.
Yeah. I think
because once you trade, you're just all tradey. You know, like you're just gonna start trading everywhere.
That's not, yeah. You've mastered trading. Traitoring.
Yeah,
Tradership.
That's all you can do is trade.
And then they're like, oh my gosh, we should have this guy come and figure out the trade problem with China and the U.S. Isn't it funny that's called trading, trader? Like, you're a trader.
There's got to be some roots in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking word. That's what your brain knows. Whenever you say trader, you think trader. Like you can define it by context and whatever, but your neurons, the first thing they do is fire off all the neurons for a trader, whatever that means.
And bring it all back. Then you have
like morning. Good morning. Also, your grandfather just died.
Morning.
So,
Sunday
good morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know, it's it's word magic. Everything is so... And it's obviously important to them for a reason. And it's funny that this Friday is Friday the 13th.
I picked that day
My
to
brother's
fly to
birthday.
Texas in the middle of a contested
Scorpio.
election.
Oh. The words. What was I gonna say? This woman. I'm not gonna remember the name, so it doesn't matter. But if anybody wants to go find out, one of my favorite Higher Side Chats episodes is of a woman who is a wordsmith poet. She talks about the language.
That was so dope, dude. I listened
yeah.
to that. It was good.
So
Didn't she
good.
go on Sam Tripoli just now, like within the last couple of weeks too?
I don't know. Did she?
I don't know, but I wanted to. Yeah, I think so.
She's
And I
hella
want.
cool.
I want to just get a bunch of musicians together and be like, "Hey, this bitch is in charge of the band."
Yes.
And she just tells you what to say, and y'all just make good music and say whatever she tells you to say.
Because am I
because
wrong? Or does she just flow with it too? She doesn't have a script and there's no pre-plan. She just riffs.
well, it's like the same thing as freestyle rappers. Dude. You
Yeah.
practice all this stuff. You have all these ways you can go. It's not just memorizing one song. It's you memorize
your
how to
tools.
react.
Yeah.
Like politicians do. You know, they have they memorize this
But not
list
as
of
good.
stuff. Yeah, but she was great, and not
She's
only was
amazing.
she saying beautiful stuff, but it breaks down the barriers in your mind that you have about these words as she goes, and it's this is nice, and
You
then it's
see
no,
the
this is
magic.
done.
You're like, oh, I see what this
Yeah.
connect. Wow.
Yeah.
She's really good. People are like,
Yeah,
what the
it's
fuck are
really
they
good.
talking about?
Yeah, I
Talking
love
about
it so much
words.
better than gematria. God damn it. Please, people, shut the fuck up. I cannot do this. 9/11 is, if you add 9/11 to Satan, then you get George Bush. And
Well-
if you look at George Bush, then...
This is my problem with gematria too. I don't actually have a problem with that. I don't care. I think patterns exist everywhere and they exist for a reason and they lead us to
Yeah.
truth. So that's cool. Go chasing that truth. But part of my thing is I'm like, okay, when you have, for example, 9 and 11, sometimes people are like 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 plus 1 is 11, 1 plus 1 is 2. And sometimes they're like 9 plus 11 is 20. Well, I guess that's...
I'm already
that
bored.
wasn't a good example. But you could get to but you could get to two different numbers and I'm like, so which... route and are there rules or do you just go the way you decide to in the moment and that's just where
Are
you
there
end up?
fucking rules? And who wrote the rules?
Yeah.
Because
And
there
here's
doesn't seem
my
like there's a
other-
lot of rules.
Here's my other. In the words of gematria, are they only death and bad things? Where's
Yeah.
all the good words? What? Okay, 9/11. It makes George Bush. It makes Trump. It makes Obama. It makes the end times, and it makes December 1st. Whatever. And then I'm like, okay. There's no good words that go with 9/11. There's no great beginning, great awakening, rejoining. I don't know. But I never even seen one person try to look. And that lets me know that is people that want to keep looking in the dark. And that is not my interest. If you want to keep looking in the dark, it's I want to there's like a Christian thing that they say. It's like, don't keep praying and asking for God like you're in a lifeboat and he sent you a fucking ship to rescue you. And you're like, no, I'm waiting for God.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I can give you information till the cows come home. I can give you, but it's like, if everything is a psyop, if everything is a dead end, if everything is the darkness and drowning in quicksand, then why are you even, I don't want it, don't pull me down with you.
Well, yeah,
like,
it's like the same thing where people are like, well, you can't do like MeWe because they're like owned by the CIA, and then Locals is like the FBI, and
I use MeWe on
like,
Huawei products.
I'm like, I'll use Facebook, and we know that's fucked up. Like, I'm just gonna use whatever I can to get like connected to other people. I don't really care if they're, I know that I could be on nothing of those and they're still watching me, so like, I don't really need to get bogged down in which one of them is watching me where. That doesn't matter.
Hey guys, China's trying to use 5G to watch us.
Yeah,
so
like,
we should stop that from happening
mission
because we don't want
accomplished in
China to
2001.
watch us. Because we all have a lot of problems with China coming into our lives and like taking our freedoms away. So
Jonathan, will you stop talking? I'm trying to catch a Pokemon that's sitting right next to you. And it's like, thank you guys for all waking up to the conspiracy that we've been screaming about while you've been downloading these apps for the last 10 years. But I'm still just the asshole over here in my tinfoil hat. Like, I almost feel like black pill people, and I hate to put it in black, blue, red, and because then it's new groups and new division. So I won't even call it. I feel
Rainbow
like people
pill.
the people that
Rainbow
want to
pill.
looking into the darkness, I should say. I think, and maybe it was on purpose from the whole psyop, that the whole bunch of people that have been doing this forever, whatever their wake up moment, and I'm not doing a timeline thing. I just mean some people only have a certain amount of hours in the day, and some other dildos like us give ourselves migraines because we don't sleep for 3 days in a row because we're like on some rabbit hole digs and whatever, our brain's doing
that
a manic
Instagram's
thing.
just gonna delete someday for no reason.
I know. It's like you're on your manic thing, but sometimes in my manic spin in my head, that's when I feel like I'm attached to the ether and I want to ride it out as long as I can, whether I'm writing, whether I'm researching, whether I'm having a phone chat. Yeah, I'm gonna flow as long as until the stream runs dry, as long as it'll let me. It's like a dream. Like once you wake up and it's like, it's gone. I wish I would have told you.
I think that in our past, whenever it was Tartaria or Atlantis or Lemuria or whatever you want to call the past, where we had all the shit figured out, because it seems that happened at some point because somebody was building shit that we can't understand with technology that didn't exist. So I think that like what Cheney is saying, like this enlightenment, but it's also like a dangerous thing, like what we know about the shamanic cultures right now is that they're like shamans were very hermaphroditic, or like asexual, lived outside of the group, were on the edges, and were these people that would go through these manic episodes, and it was understood by the tribe that they had to protect that person, like take care of the things that they couldn't take care of because of their mind state, and make sure they had food and that everything was good and that they had what they needed. But it wasn't like, we want you in our parties and stuff because you're just going to be talking about this crazy shit all the time, but we know that we need you because you're the one that's able to interpret everybody's dreams and like take care of this other realm. And I think that we talk about the shamanic because that's our only example that we have left of like people using the spirit realm for good. But I think if you go farther back, then it wasn't the shaman on the outskirts of the village, it was the shamans in the center of the towns and the cities and stuff. Like they were the ones that were like there in the middle of the governance, and like how this whole thing was. That's why everything was so beautiful and everything was harmonically designed and stuff.
You can check with like whatever you want to call it, heaven, spirit, source, God, whatever you want to call that. When you can check with that for what the best choice is, like, are you ever going to go wrong? No, like that's the best answer you can get. I mean, unless you're like not understanding how to like make sure you're aligned with the right vibration or whatever you want to call that, but like you can't go wrong with that. If you can't tap into that and you're just making choices, like, you'll probably do good a lot of the time. And then sometimes you're going to get it wrong because you have all this shit in the way. Ego or whatever. The bad sides of ego, you know, and like distraction and greed and blah, blah, blah.
And that's also good because you get this great opportunity to like grow out of that and realize that you did wrong and apologize to the people and
True.
make a change.
Know that you don't want that and what you do want. And yeah, I love that. I think we ignore spirituality to our detriment in this, you know, point of our existence, and it's like so cut out that, you know, I'm like, I read tarot cards and I like, you know, connect people with their messages from their higher self or their guides or whatever from time to time, and people, when I say that, like, that's one of those things where I'm like, I'm saying this out loud, like, you know, this, but I say that, and there's gonna be a good portion of the general population, if they heard me say that, would be like, oh, she's crazy. Yeah. You know, they just like
now we understand.
Yeah, instantly dismiss, and I'm like, that's sad. But I'm like, you know, I just try to get to the point where I'm like, I genuinely hope for you, whoever you are judging me in that way or judging any of us in that way who have a soul and know it. I genuinely hope for you that you have an experience in your life where you realize that you have a soul and a spirit, and that is actually your true self, and then this is like not that this is
maybe
not important
you're
or
just
whatever, but
an NPC character like they are, and we've already like advanced to, like, we're in hardcore mode. And so now, like, even our parents and stuff are like these controlled beings that are trying to force this stuff on us. I don't think so. I love my mom and dad, but, you know, like, it's just getting tighter and tighter. And we're having, like, we've talked about this a lot on the show, is like, we have the ability when we're together, like, if all three of us were in our room, we would have this natural rapport, and we'd be able to like communicate and talk.
Love fest.
Share pheromones and like all this other stuff that is super valuable to communication, like even what I'm doing with my legs and stuff, which you can't see, like all that stuff is a part of communicating with human beings. But now we're being forced into this role that we have to account for all of that communication, but we have to do it on now the etheric or astral planes, you know, like we have to be able to feel people out just by this tiny little drivel of two-dimensional information that we're getting, or I guess three-dimensional if you count the audio, but it's just, that's all we got, you know, and
that's actually a cool
we're
thing.
Doing it.
Yeah, we're being forced to, right? Like you said, that's what something you said earlier made me think of the same thing. And when we were talking in the chat about like 6 feet, is that the limit or not, or can you like go beyond that, or is there no location to it? You can go anywhere at any time. If you are being pushed into having to do that, to being forced to be able to do that, if you're going to be in your cell in a camp at some point and you still need to be able to access information and send information to other people, you know, it's like I've had Michael Wan on the show a lot, and he talks about that a lot, is that we're being pushed to the point where we might not even be able to use technology anymore. Right? We might not even be able to have internet or connect with each other, and then like, where will we get our information and like all this, and well, we need to figure that out. Like, how are you going to do that? And I'm, you know, I have some people from time to time say something to me like, wow, you're so gifted or something, and I'm like, thank you. But anybody can do this, and that's part of that thing, like you were saying, Jonathan, like I do have to claim that like I've prepared and I've practiced and I've done this and that, and so I can do certain things. But like literally anyone can do that. I'm not special in that way.
But you are.
Well, thank you. But I am. But I'm not. You know, we all have, that's the part of it where it's like, it's not me, it's this source or whatever. We all have that. We all have our soul, our spirit or whatever, and it's part of the source. And so we are connected to that. The more you know it, the more you practice it, and the more you use it, the better it's going to work. And that's one of the things I really want to push more on the show. I've pushed it the whole time I've had Rogue Ways, but I want to push it more leading up to the solstice. Because I feel like this is always the solstice, this winter, December.
The bright winter.
Yeah, the bright winter solstice, because they are focusing on that theme, and so I am focusing on the bright winter, and I know that that's a crucial time where traditionally, you know, we think of light dying, the sun dies, and it dies for 3 days. There's 3 days of darkness, and I just have always felt like that's a significant time, and I've always felt like our role during that time is to keep the light alive and bright. And so I really want to like start doing classes or whatever I need to do to help people feel really empowered to be connected to that part of themselves and to know experientially, if possible, that it is absolutely connected to that larger source, God, whatever you want to call it.
Do all of you have passports?
I do.
You do? Cheney?
My boyfriend doesn't.
No, I don't. No,
gotta
it's
get a passport, Cheney.
you know I'm not going to be allowed to get one now. No, I'm just kidding.
You're on the list.
I'm on Donald Trump's good list, and he has a couple more months in power, you guys. So
Well, in maybe
conspiracy chicken
maybe
free.
4 more years. I mean, I really think they're gonna. I don't know. We'll see.
If you really, I don't, with that stuff, I never know how heavy I don't know how heavy you want to get into it on your show. I really feel like, hashtag no worries, hashtag let your friends enjoy their couple of days. They fucking need it. They've been so tight for 4 years. They've thought the end of the world was coming for 4 years.
Yeah.
Let them have 3 days to celebrate and hopefully
They
not
really
be
thought
too.
they were being conquered by Nazis.
Yes, genuinely. Which I'm like, damn, you poor thing. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, and they
That's
really,
insane.
they thought that, like, oh my gosh, black people are turning on themselves, gay people are turning on themselves, they're all like backing racists, like they're going to turn us to the Handmaid's Tale. Like, let them just have a couple of days. So I'm not even worried about that part. But I really believe that, you know how when you're watching somebody be honest in a stream, this is how I feel about you. This is why I like you. I feel like you're being very true to yourself, like true to who you are. And like, that's all the experience and all the dings in your armor, but also all the beautiful experiences, everything that makes you who you are, but you're being true to who you are and you're attached to source. Because of that, I think the closer you get attached to source, you also see it in other people. And I'm not giving myself kudos because I also think every single person that you admire and start to see that thing in, and you start to like reach out and find bravery in your own life or whatever you're admiring about them, and you start to do it, that means whatever you're fucking admiring and doing, you're touching to source too, and somebody else is seeing it off you. So I just think your individuality is the key to like whatever that natural thing that you feel like, whatever that is. It doesn't have anything to do with what the media tells you have to fit into, of your fashion or your sexuality or your relationship or all these boxes and jobs and things. But it's just this like real authentic, like 9-year-old kid you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like myself right now, I totally would have worn this when I was 10.
Yes.
It's taken me 4 decades to get comfortable enough and make it through this whole thing to get back to being like, oh, yay. I get to like, I got my Michael Jackson belt on. I got my Chuck Taylors, which like whatever but it's like, I think your authenticity is your 10-year-old self if it wasn't harmed or abused by an adult or society too much.
It's like having enough self-love that you can be true to yourself, right?
You were so brave. You would climb the tallest tree. You didn't even think twice about falling down. You would swim out to the deepest part of the ocean. You didn't think about undertow or sharks.
And
like,
walk up to any person you wanted to and be like, hi, want to be friends?
anyone. You knew a kid when you saw it the same way a cat knows a cat when it sees it. You were like, hi, let's go into share me. Whatever your little, and no matter how different the kid, you were like, oh, I got my G.I. Joe. And you'd be like, I have my Barbies. And I'd be like, okay, my tiny G.I. Joe, your big Barbies. Hi. No. Oh, the adult comes over. That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't fit in that. Like, So I feel like our
likes
adult
midgets.
brain.
Leave her alone.
Yeah. Leave him alone. She's just looking for something a little more masculine than Ken.
Yeah.
He's all worried about the dream car and the elevator.
Dude,
Weirdo.
Ken was the beginning of the demasculation. Well, probably wasn't
You're
yet,
right.
But so I've never thought of
I
that
know,
before.
totally.
I've always been a very hairy dude since I was like 12. Everybody else got the happy trail is what they called it.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
I was from. I was like, and I was already like with my chest hairy and my stomach hairy, and so it was really weird for me the whole time. And then like every single men's magazine that you looked at was just like these hairless guys with the man cleavage and stuff, and I was like, I can't do that. And I actually, when I was like 19, went and paid like $200 to get all of my upper body hair waxed, and it's like the most miserable experience of my life. Like one of them, which is a great thing to be able to say, and it was like 3 days, you know, like one day of being weird like a dolphin, like just like smooth, and then like 3 days later I was just like prickly and just covered in like these little black things. I'm like, I can't ever do this. I can never be this sexy image that I'm supposed to be. So I just went the other way. I was like, I don't care. I'll accept what I have.
Well, and genuinely, I think, you know, women who are attracted to men are like I think generally women are more attracted to traditional masculinity than not. But I think some women pretend to be like into the other thing because it's more, I guess, socially acceptable right now. Yeah, trendy or something. But it's like, I won't say who in case they don't want to be named, but someone close to me says, you know, like while your like beta male is out, you know, at work, she's going to be like banging the plumber or whoever comes over and can actually like do things and has hair and like, you know, because some part of people are sort of,
as if there's any plumbers left in the world or anyone of trade in a generation. It's like, are you talking about she's going to be banging the lesbian?
Yeah, right. That's exactly.
Which is more manly.
Is more manly than my husband.
No, but I was even thinking too, it's crazy. I look more like Ken, which is the representation of the first man that all girls see, than Jonathan. That's crazy. Than Jonathan. Like this is the world that we live in, of the like push of culture of like
to control
of putting in boxes of things. But I also think it's like a scale, because how much normalcy would just be in what, like this sexual scale of this, look at false dichotomy, the false duality again. What they've told us the boxes are that are ever changing. Look at just in our lifetime, everyone pull on your memory banks. This is a hard part that we're having because everyone has the 6-month memory now.
Yeah, 5-day memory.
Yeah, how much of it are the boxes they put us on to make a false duality? And really natural humans, what about if all humans at different ages in their life dated all different kinds of humans? Or what about if they had relationships that all the relationships didn't always have to go to sex? Like it's like so much of the things we think are normal are part of our brainwashing of every single thing of our education, every single thing of our movies, every single thing of our heroes, everything pushed on us. So it's like we have no idea what kind of the true us is. And I like so much of the shamed stuff is just there for like the bad guys to control, divide, and conquer, and the false dualities, I think.
And then, so given that, like, how many people in the world even have an idea of who they really are? Like, if you, or
how many would be asexual? How many more asexual people would there be without the perversion shit put on us by the media or abuse? Or it's like, how much sex, even so much ways of that we show love for each other, even ways that any counselor you go to for any kinds of relationships, what's your sex life like? It's such a topic heavy thing. And I'm like, when did they put, and I remember when I got sex education, and I found talking to friends that are younger and younger than me, the age of their sex education, like I thought, I got sex education in the 8th grade. And it was like the same time I got it, they got it too. So they were like, I got it in the 5th grade. I got it in the 6th grade. I got it. And it was like, whoa, it was just a wave of sex education in America that had to be done all of a sudden because AIDS was out. And remember, I don't know.
Okay, so now it's in like kindergarten, which I actually think we had technically sex ed in kindergarten, but it wasn't sex ed. It was like, here's 10 minutes where we're going to remind you that if anyone is touching you here, you need to tell someone because
grooming.
That's not appropriate.
They're grooming you.
Grooming.
That's what they are. And like, think about it now through the eyes of everything we know by the power structure that has been set up to run. it's like they have been grooming us as a society. And I really believe that I say it to people, why we're all looking at cuties and thinking, I'm too smart to look at cuties. I still love Netflix. I found a lot of good documentaries on there. No, you haven't. You found a lot of good propaganda on there to make you eat Bill Gates' meat because they were setting up for this moment for you to be driving through a drive-through, only McDonald's or Burger King both selling Bill Gates meat. So, ta-da, there's nothing you're watching on there. Your brain there's nothing on there that is a choice that is good. It's all synthetic. Everything on there. Nothing's organic on there.
Except
not a thing.
My octopus teacher.
Yeah, that shit's
one's
dope.
actually
Everybody should watch that show. It's awesome,
real.
man.
I
watched
think
it
it's
after you told
awesome,
me, man.
but I think there's a symbology in it because it's the same as the alien of that movie Arrival. I think there's something about that black octopus figure. There's something else in it. They don't give us anything good. Good people.
You're right.
Yes. Yeah, I think they have layers of things that...
Plus, it's like, go out into where you're cold, uncomfortable, inhuman, and disconnected from your senses and meet with this alien intelligence. That's a good point. There could be something.
And make a friend.
And then she dies and it's horrible.
Yeah, it is really sad. But I like the part where you're like, he's like connecting with his,
It's amazing to think that, like, we don't ever talk about it, but, like, the octopus and the orca and the blue whale and these things are so fucking smart. They're so much smarter and deeper than us in a lot of ways
just
that
like,
we don't really...
Just like the wolf who ran by and I made eye contact and everything in my being was like, death! The whale that swam by me, like, I think I talked about last time I was on, like, 20 feet from my face or whatever was a giant whale eye. Like, I can't even really describe it, but, like, everything in my being was like, that thing knows way more than me. Like, whatever it is, it's like beyond me. Like, I can't even fathom it.
Yeah.
It's muscle memory of a species, because it's like a shark never is scared of anything, because for however long that sharks have been swimming around, there's never been anything to be scared of. A lion, that's why it lays under a tree and yawns in the shade, because what's hunting a lion naturally for thousands of years? But think of how quickly, like, deer season happens and all the deers run and hide because they're prey animals. But they've been prey animals forever. It's just a new hunter. So it's just interesting for us. Like, all of I think pretty much everything that is something that they call a mental disorder, I want to shove a pill in for you. Not that I am not saying that there's not good done by Western medicine, because it's such like a heated topic about everything.
It's 90% bullshit.
Yeah.
I know.
It's the ability to move. This is my favorite description of Western medicine, because I've just been like immersed in this Chinese medicine world, and they're like, we respect Western medicine. Western medicine is really good at rearranging matter. So, like, if you need a chemical added to your system, they can do that. If you need a piece removed physically from you, they can do that. Added to you, they can do that. But can they deal with anything else, which is like 90% of our existence? No, they can't. So they're cool sometimes, but very rarely. I was like, that's a good description.
Like, I think if you were an insomniac, instead of taking sleeping pills 1,000 years ago, you were the one that kept us safe from the tiger jumping in the tent at night.
And no shit.
Good point.
If you are
ADD, you were the runner. You're like, run to the next town and tell them the thing.
Or, yeah, you weren't meant to hold a long train of thought. Your body was moving, and all you had to do was stay in that flow state and just hop through your thoughts. It was like you were your own podcast. You were supposed to entertain yourself on this long run. If you're a high anxiety person and they're meant to make you feel weak with that, your anxieties were literally the thing that kept us safe from every natural disaster, from every horrible thing that would happen. And your anxieties were the ones that told us it's time for us to leave. The crop's going to die soon and we have to keep going.
It's back to that thing where we all have our role in the group, and it actually works out perfectly.
And they're telling us it's bad.
The chat is nailing it right now on Rogue Ways, because they're talking about how sex actually has a purpose and a reason, and that it could be so much better if it wasn't all this program bullshit. And I think that is absolutely true, and that,
it's magic. You just got to be careful what you're doing with it. And it's it's a direct chakra magic that you're actually combining another person. So the amount of responsibility that should really go in it if people knew the spiritual creature that they really were. It's like heady to think about, like how much people are like, I can't believe you sit there with a stranger and have a conversation like this and bear your thoughts with the idea of ridicule. And I'm like, I can't believe you bear your vagina when you're blackout drunk and allow a demon to impregnate maybe your womb. I don't know how things go, but because I don't know all the answers, and the more anything I choose to look into, I know anything, no matter the subject, if I choose to look into it, what I've been told for 4 decades isn't true.
It's going to be wrong, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever the subject, I'm telling you, like, you are a lot more special than you think you are, and they're doing everything they can to turn you off from the grid.
And why is every single thing connected to sex in our society, and every single aspect of it is polluted as fuck? Because they want to keep you from reaching that state where you find actual love and actual communion conjoined with that act, right? Because we're going back to magic now. Aside from the magic of that, you can literally create a being. Sex, you can have the ultimate experience of being directly in that moment at one time with that pure imagination visualization thing going on right in that moment, and that much emotion and action all aligned with another person. That's double.
And potential create a life.
And
potentially create a fucking life. Like,
even if you don't want to, like, that's probably going to happen eventually.
Yeah. Especially if you don't want to, it's probably going to happen.
I think about that a lot, and like with my wife, it's like, okay, so I have to love this person unconditionally, and we're both going to be in our worst place and our best place and everything, and we have to go through all this stuff, and we have to love all of that. And then, like, a lot of times I realize, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to do that with everybody. But then you, like, think about, like, what that means, and, like, it's just accepting every single person how they are. Yeah.
That's hard work. That's like the hard. That's like saintly calling. Like, that's like what we should all ideally be doing, but you gotta get there eventually somehow.
Yeah. It's hard to do it with one person. It's hard to do it with yourself. It's hard to love yourself like that, you know?
I know.
Much less the world.
And I think that literally has to come first, you know, that whole thing, like, you gotta love yourself first before you can love it. Like, I think that's literally true, and I think as much as you love yourself is as much as you can love another. So, man, it goes back to that thing where, like, the primary...
I think the opposite, but it's as above, so below. I think
it's both.
The people in my life have taught me, because of how much I've learned to love them. And my wife has, I feel like every day, I don't even know how much a day, it's like there's that big Buddha statue, and every time people come, you can buy a little piece of gold and put it on it, and the Buddha statue is huge because every traveler comes with their little piece of gold and puts it on there. Awesome. And the Buddha, that's how I feel like my heart is. And my wife makes it bigger, and like you guys make it bigger, and the friendships in my life and my family make it bigger. And the more I purely love them, the more I love myself, because I am like, holy shit, I have these fucking awesome people in my life. And my dad always said, like, the people you hang out with, you're the equation of the people you hang out with. They're bad and good, so be careful of anyone bringing down your, you know, lump sum there, kid.
Especially if you're having sex with them. It's like the fast track into your soul or whatever.
Right into your root chakra.
Yeah.
And then if everything's intention, think about if you took off ego of getting off, if you allowed the energy to go back up the barbershop pole and come back down, every time you did it, even if it was masturbatory, even if it was anything, could that be a fucking idea or closer to the attachment of the whole? Of every time you withhold doing that, and then people are like, well, I want to have sex with my wife. Well, why don't you make out, lay together, hold each other, massage each other? Like, there's so many special things. Like, when was the last time, like, you looked at the fucking back of your lover's knees?
Yeah.
Like, looked at them. Do they have varicose veins? That means they work hard. They stand a lot. Like, it's like when you look at all these scars we have on our fucking bodies, when you look at yourself, all the things you beat up, you love them about other people, but you beat up on themselves when you look in the mirror. So I think it's like that for me, but as above, so below, or as below, so above. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was definitely being able to, and watch her love other people. where I'm like, she's so kind. I want to be more kind. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. You have to be a mirror, and other people are a mirror for you, and we all reflect and bounce off each other and add to the glow, the general glow, the bright winter glow.
Bright winter.
Hashtag.
Bright winter. It's perfect that you were here. Dark winter was said the other night on Friday night too much. I didn't like it. I was like, Lindsay's doing bright winter though.
Yes.
Lindsay over on Rogueways, you guys should look at her bright winter. I felt like I had to
That's why I
combat
changed the
it.
background to something lighter too.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I love that people often, when they are encountering me, are like, oh, so you're like a 11-night hippie girl. I'm like, no, I'll fucking kill a motherfucker and like slice their face off. I just also really, really like to focus on the goodness, because I know they want us in that darkness. And if they want us there, I want to be in the opposite place. So I'm going to intentionally
That's
do that.
what we learned from the hippies, is that, hey, your enemies don't give a fuck how much you love everybody.
Nope. Yeah. You gotta have both, right? This like infinite ability to be vulnerable and loving, and also like badass boundaries when necessary. Because it's like that's why the communes failed and all these things. Because people are like, we just have to like give and love and that's all, and you're like, that's not all. That's like a huge
And
part of it.
laziness.
Yeah.
Laziness is a big reason so much stuff fails. And I think it's a big reason that everybody, a lot of people, if they were honest with themselves about a lot of the free shit they want from the government, whether it's a PPE mask or education, a lot of people want a lot of stuff for free. They are really expecting their government to provide a lot of things for them.
It's part of the disconnect. Just imagine if you had a family that was like your 6 brothers and sisters and your uncles and aunts and stuff, and you were the one that wasn't helping pick the apples or like, harvest stuff. What would happen?
You don't get any apples.
Yeah, or you get your fucking ass kicked. Like one or the other. Like they're not gonna let that happen. Nobody's gonna like lift a finger for you if they know you're capable. But the same on the other side of the coin. That's why Cheney talks about like everything about like the tribal situation. Like our normal way of being has been split up into like capitalist and communism. Like you're not gonna let your uncle starve to death either if he breaks his leg. You're gonna take care of that motherfucker. You're gonna take care of the one that got dropped on his head. Maybe you leave them in the woods. I don't know how far back we're going, but like you're gonna include the people that can't take care of themselves.
Naturally.
And you're gonna do extra work for them, of course. But if we're all separated like this, you don't want that. You have to be forced into that because you don't know these people, and you don't know that they're not just sitting on their ass because they like to smoke a lot of weed, or they're.
Well, that's why I'm like, why do we want the middleman? Like, I can definitely look at my neighbor and be like, oh, you had a car accident or whatever, you can't drive. I'll give you rides for a few days or whatever. Like, no big deal. But if the government comes in and is like, we're taking your car because your neighbor needs it for a few days, I'm like, fuck you. Like, plus you're gonna take like my tires and replace them with shitty ones or something, because that's your whole game. It's just like being in the middle and taking what you can off the top. Like, yeah, it's not efficient, it's not effective, and we had a very efficient and effective method before all of this systemic bullshit.
When was that?
I don't know. I just feel it.
I think there's things that each states could do different, or whatever. And I think there's ways that states could make state-run schools affordable, that they maybe could go like high school all the way through. But and if a school wants to charge $1 million a semester, they should be able to do that too. And as society, if they want to decide that the $1 million semester school, if they want to hire that one more, that can be done. But there should be the affordable options. But we keep waiting for someone to create these things instead of just being like, why can't Cheney teach people to weld right now, and then those people go weld? Why do we keep waiting for a nanny, a daddy, a big brother, somebody, like an adult to come in and say,
that person's good enough and that one's not?
Yeah,
you can do
this is a certification from a blah 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 blah. Like what? Like, look at the certifications that even justify whether something's organic or not, or whether something's FDA, or even look at how much people found out about what we consider health organizations in our country, from the WHO to the CDC to there was all these groups no one had ever heard of before. Yeah, who are these groups? Why are we listening to them and not the people that have been practicing medicine for 20 years?
The one's actually doing it effectively. Like, oh, that works. I'll do that.
And I even feel like, in a way, a lot of conspiracy theorists that I know are in this place that they are using the propaganda machine as their proof of different arguments on both sides. And I'm
almost
like,
everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
And they're using
I do
it
that
to,
sometimes, and
they're using it to feed their own fear. And so I just am like, you guys, stop. Our connection is right here. Yeah, it starts here, but it also starts right here and in our living rooms again. What are we sitting here waiting for? Like, I feel like everyone is willing an asteroid to hit because they're just over it.
Yeah, it's hard. So what's our 5-year plan, guys? Girls?
Theys. Love yourself. Learn to be in connection with yourself and your surroundings and your fellow humans and God. Like, at all levels, be connected as much as possible, which is absolutely gonna bring up pain and trauma and shit to be healed, because that is what happens when you're in connection with yourself, because we all have a shit ton of that. So be ready for that. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna deal with it. You're gonna get through it.
Accept
We're all
it.
here for you.
Love it.
That's
what we're here for. We're
dust.
doing it too.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
I just had a massive trauma clearing this weekend, and it was fucking hell, and it sucks, and I hate it, but fuck am I glad that I went through it and came out the other side, because I'm way more whole and healthy now, and I have even less blockage between me and the source or whatever, so we all got to do that as much as we can, like that self-healing process, that self-reconnection process, and self-responsibility, like you were just talking about, is also absolutely key. And then taking your place in an actual community is, I think, the final step to reclaiming our sovereignty. If we do all those things, no one can stop us.
What does that final step mean, though, taking your place in a community?
Is it
like joining somebody's Patreon, or you mean
not and not in a way where you're like, this is the Black Flag community and we're all about this mantra and you have to follow these rules. I just mean literally in your place in the physical world around you, who's around you, and can you connect with these people and start to work together, because that's actually the only way that human society, I think, can function effectively.
Yeah.
I
think your podcast, the stuff we're talking about, is a synthesis of I don't know how many fucking years worth of time the three of us have spent looking into all this stuff.
Yes.
Thinking
about it, testing it out. That's what I'm I like to tell people, I used to be a
doctorate
communist.
degree.
Yeah.
Doctorate degree.
More than that.
We have a PhD in, but I like to tell people about that, because I'm my failed philosophies, that's how I came to the things I understand now, is I'm for a while wanted to violently tear down the state and create a communist utopia, which would have been horrible for everyone. Yeah. But that's what
everybody leave me alone. I'm just trying to do a communist utopia.
Yeah, come on. And now I'm oh, that's the opposite of what we need, because we really desperately need healthy, emotionally healthy, spiritually healthy people.
Bill Gates
to be
in charge
responsible,
of everybody.
Self-responsible people as members of a community, a physical, real community in your location.
Me and my wife, we love each other. And so now I have to be able to not the same thing, she has her special place forever, but be able to bring in my family that I love, and we're very close, but also my extra family. And I think that that's also up on the physical level too. We can do these Swapcast all we want, but if we're really on the same page with this shit, then we need to find some way to bring it together and
manifest in physical reality.
Manifest and do things that are.
It's someone in my chat was you guys need to talk about growing vegetables. I'm we do, and we all should do that.
Yeah, I'm growing vegetables. You guys in the chats need to grow some fucking vegetables.
Yeah, you do it.
I think all that stuff, but the most important thing is, if all this stuff, this is all controlled stuff. And honestly, with some of the people I'm seeing, whether you're talking about Flat Earth, QAnon, Hunter's laptop, the gamut across the board of what you're not allowed to talk about now, vitamin C, eating organic,
exercise,
the things that you're not allowed to say is becoming more and more and more. And I'm not going to be stifled by a mask. I hope nobody is. But the most importantly, mask, helmet, welder's face, whatever you put over it, you can't stifle your voice, and you have to be brave. And I think a big thing is, stop arguing with people. start really feeling wherever they're at. Stop. Everybody wants to, like, somebody on the Union of the Unwanted said everybody wants to, like, slice the knot, but you have to untie it the way it was tied. Otherwise, panic happens, chaos happens, all this. You have to do it in a way. Law and order is a very beautiful thing. And we had somebody on our show, Maria777, who's a lawyer, and I'm sure she doesn't feel like a fool for studying the philosophy of law. Philosophies are beautiful. And like you were saying, like DC used to not be filled with lobbyists. It used to be filled with religious people and philosophy and scientists, and they would all stand in the streets just like we're doing right now, but on their soapboxes at different corners and try to get politicians' ear. And so I think it's really important that, and I'm even saying the one little, my cowardly thing, as big as my voice is, like saying it on here or even on Instagram or fighting on Facebook, you're not in front of someone. And when you're not in front of someone and really, like, I've done all this work in my life to be a better listener here and this amount of work to be a better listener here. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, shit, everyone, whatever you admire, be that for the people in your real life.
Yeah.
Like, they might never meet Lindsay or Jonathan or me, and you might be watching something like, oh, if my brother would just listen to Lindsay, then he would understand and get it. Or, you know, like...
That's true.
So many people say it all the time, like, Lindsay, I wish... I'm like, if everyone would just turn on Yoga with Adrian.
Yeah.
I've said that, like, so many times.
Good,
I'm
just
like, gosh, 30 days, you guys. Just what's 30 days? It's whatever you admire about somebody else, you can be that for the people in your immediate now. And that's how the Fibonacci changes. That's how we change it. It's order. And what I'm doing right now, or what Lindsay's doing, or what Jonathan's doing, we're all changing. Our Fibonacci's changing. It's not chaotic. It's very orderly. And it's happening regardless of whether people like it or not. And the second you realize your individuality or your own bravery, just do the person you feel most comfortable with in your smallest scale that disagrees with you the most, meet with them again in person, hug each other again, have a real conversation. But instead of trying to prove your points and scare them that the doomsday is coming, what about if you really felt their fear of what it was like to live under the idea that Ebola was happening the last 9 months? Because that's how some people really felt. And so to just displace them is the same way they displace your research.
Yeah.
To displace, and so...
Good point.
Like, we can do this in person on a really small, comfortable level. You don't have to go preaching it to Sam Tripoli. You know, you don't have to preach it to however many thousands of people they're not letting them know are watching. You can just do it with your sister or your mom or your neighbor. There's somebody you feel very comfortable with that you can come out of the closet and say, I voted for Donald Trump because I just believe something's better than something else. And I don't think it's the lesser of two evils. I actually think that there's an idea behind it that's bigger than the man. And I see it. And I just had to tell somebody, like, come out of the closet.
And
we all did it, you guys.
You're describing genuine compassion, which is an amazing tool. I mean, maybe you don't want to think about it as a tool, but like, if you have genuine compassion for people, then they're going to respond to that. And that's the like place of possible growth. You know, when people feel genuinely loved and respected, then they can actually be vulnerable enough to open that up and then possibly update it. Maybe, but that can't be the goal, because that's not real compassion.
That's the point of the separation. Like, if we can never, like, it's so easy for us. Like, it's so natural. Human beings, like, I came from the United States, from Texas, which is a very, like, closed off place. Like, we're super sweet and everything, but everybody's very, like, inside their own little trip. And I always kind of felt alienated from them just because of how conservative they were. And I had no idea how much I was like them. But coming to Mexico, it's like this whole other thing where people like want to like hug you and like bring you into the family and like, just come sit with us because you're interesting and let's hang out. And it's like this really close thing that we don't have in the United States. And it just made me realize how much other stuff there is and how many other ways of being, and we're all being separated further and further apart. But it's really just that, like, You know, like Anthony Bourdain, just going in and like having a couple drinks and hanging out with these people, whoever they are, these random strangers. And really soon, if you enjoy the food together, then you're all friends. You know, like if you like the same drinks, then you're all friends. You know, like if you can find one thing that you agree on, then you're all friends. And then all the other stuff, like we can figure it out.
Yeah.
But like we're mostly super fucking cool. Almost all
There's
of
a
us.
magic in
Almost
sharing.
That's absolutely true. Well, I have to bring my end to a close. I don't know if you guys are going to keep live streaming on your channel or not.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
So I'm gonna do my closing and say goodbye to all the Idiocalypse people who I love so much. Thank you guys. And I just want to also say one more time to anybody who is on Idiocalypse and not on Rogueways, if you want to go check out rogue.locals.com and become a supporter, I genuinely appreciate it. It's so awesome. I'm very excited for the community we're forming there, so come be a part of it. But fellow travelers of a path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom according to the badass Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you for being on Rogueways tonight. And according to the beautiful Cheney, thank you so much for coming tonight as well. It's so good to have you guys. It's so much fun. You have infinite energy and infinite ideas.
Wonderful.
We obviously can go for 3 hours and more. I know you guys go for even longer, but I love it. So we'll do it again soon. And hanging in the balance is everything. And I'm not talking about an election outcome or a viral contagion hoax or a looming worldwide recession mixed with complete technocratic control matrices. I'm talking about your heart. You exist as the middle path. You're a human, halfway between the gods and the core of Earth, halfway between the sun and the gases and infinite nothing, halfway between heaven and dust. You're the center of everything, and your fate is the fate of the universe. And at the center of you, the middle path of the middle path, is your heart. Your vortex of a portal, of an opening that carries the hopes of literally everything. Is it still open? Are you still aligning with your highest truth? Are we still on a path to overcome all vestiges of darkness? Good. I thought so. And until you blast that portal vortex open with infinite love, unleashing the ultimate and final form of all that is, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah. Love you guys.
All the love,
amazing.
Lindsay. Thank you.
I heard the Freemasons called you. Man, they at it again. And I'm out to tell the truth once more. That's right. Known in the house. APOGZ, that's right. Hitting the stereo near you. Truth is the best thing. And it's on. Yo, I once thought that I wanted to get Denver on track, but to something more bigger than that. Something lurking, waiting to blow this state right off the map. A hidden agenda related to September. Doves carved up on the wall next to the highway. Up in the concrete road rolling home next to where I stay. With state's destruction, Lockheed Martin malfunction. While NORAD's in the mountain anticipating our next move. My heart's jumping and I'm like, fuck waiting. While crooked taxes are burning a hole in my pocket. With a dollar bill in the pyramid that's watching. Instead of having a capstone on top of it, they have an eye with a fast surprise while you're flossing it. Greedy niggas jocking it, politics plotting it. So who you vote for really doesn't mean shit. So save your energy from being drained by the enemy. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, envisioning dreams of them chasing me. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, envisioning dreams of them chasing me. Skull and bones of Freemasonry, secret agencies with a plan to dominate all of man. Check the records of DIA, strange murals and paintings similar to the ones next to the highway. With pyramids and flames underneath them looking like they're about to fly away. I can't be tripping, but it sounds like I'm on acid. Most people slipping, taken below DIA held captive in the near future, where they won't hesitate to reinstate new laws for a bigger cause. I'm talking about established civilian concentration camps, introducing the military's labor programs. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness the belittlement of your people. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness the belittlement of your people.
Feds ain't stretching the truth, the script that he's spitting is true. Pay attention to what's going on or it might happen to you. When it's happening to cellular communication monitor, behavior studied and controlled through chemicals bombing nerves. This murder Jesus ain't got anything to do with it. Religious cynic where experiments cage and lace and in terms of accepted limits. Things that can't explain in the sky when I'm in the Rockies. Chakra systems limited due to the voltage overhead pop. Mind control victims, slap clips and machine guns for recess. FCC will help us speak less, manipulate us through weak feel right nonfiction with the CIA trying to kill me filthy. Talking about the underground facility at DIA, no one feel that place laced with hints. Notice whenever I return home, lack some references in a new world Masonic capstone. Croy and Area 51 workers to build, and I don't mean to rant. In the face of an emergency, it doubles as a FEMA camp. Reaction, solution, trickery, repeated through history. NORAD's listening in, using technology, tracking where you piss and sleep. Paranoid or just facing the fact. Better watch what you say, it's another day under the Patriot Act. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness up a little bit of your people. Expand your mind just a little bit, forget the little shit before you witness up a little bit of your people.
The idea is to bring people to the point where they are helpless, passive, and unable to assert their own creative power to form anything else. Success for people like this is measured in terms of money, which they then translate into power. Corruption and violations of the Constitution. Secret societies, the push for one world government. I'd like to get corruption and violations of the Constitution. The idea is to bring people to the point where they are helpless, passive, and unable to assert their own creative power to form anything else.